Today's episode is sponsored by Square. If you're running a business, you need every advantage you can get. And with Square in your corner, you've got everything you need to solve problems, share insights, and stay one step ahead. From point-of-sale systems to inventory and customer tools, Square simplifies your day-to-day, giving you flexibility to grow at your own pace and expand your business. Right now, listeners can get up to $200 off Square hardware by signing up at square.com/go/command. That's SQUARE.com/GO/command.
Greetings, humans. You have entered the Command Zone, your destination for all aspects of Elder Dragon Highlander. Enjoy your stay.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Command Zone podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Weeks.
Who could it be? Jimmy Wong.
Today, we are talking about all of the commanders you need to hear about going into Lorwyn Eclipsed. It's here.
It's here. It's one of the most anticipated sets in a long, long time. A real Magic world.
Oh, man.
How exciting.
We have not been to Lorwyn since I've started playing Magic, and I'm so stoked.
It's just one of those things that I think people just universally just like, for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. I didn't play when Lorwyn was around, but I'm still like, cool, Lorwyn. I like the world. I like the aesthetic and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So let's kick it off with one of the iconic characters from the set, and maybe one of the most busted commanders ever. Ashling the Limitless. 2 and a red for a 2/3 legendary creature, elemental sorcerer. Has this line of text, which is just insane. Elemental spells you cast from your hand have evoke 4. So if you cast a spell for its evoke cost, it's sacrificed when it's entered. So if you have an elemental spell in your hand, you can pay 4 mana and evoke it out. And then it says, whenever you sacrifice a non-token elemental, create a token that's a copy of it. Mm-hmm. The token gains haste until end of turn. At the beginning of your next end step, sacrifice it unless you pay Wooburg. So this is a Wooburg commander. When you evoke out a spell, it automatically sacrifices itself, so you get the ETB or any leaves triggers. And then Ashling gives you another copy of that spell, so you get another ETB and another leaves trigger. Mm-hmm. So basically your evoke spells are like more permanent, but not as permanent as they fully could be, which they don't stick around. But the one goes to your graveyard and you just get another version of it.
Yeah, she's like a pretty fancy panharmonicon that also makes some spells cheaper.
Yeah, and the thing attacks.
Yeah. And you get to give it haste.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things going on with Ashling that I do want to draw attention to. She's a lot more complicated than she looks. You can do some really wild stuff with it. And look, it's 5 colors, it's fancy, it's powerful. You know Josh Lequaz playing this one on game nights.
Yeah, this might be the best elemental creature ever printed.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to look at, what's the other 5 color one that is now...
You're not even looking at it because it doesn't exist anymore, Rachel.
Yeah, it's gone because it's disappeared. The one I'm talking about, of course, is Horde of Notions, is the previous 5-color elemental commander. And I think it's going to be hard to beat Ashling. So normally we don't talk about the face commanders because we're going to dedicate an entire episode to her. But because this is such a powerful commander with so many interesting corner cases, we are going to take some time in this episode to go through it. So I want to draw attention to a couple of things. First of all, this sacrifice clause, whenever you sacrifice a non-token elemental, make a token, doesn't care if you sacrificed it to the evoke ability.
Yeah, it could just be a regular elemental on the board.
If you have a sack outlet, you can make a copy of an elemental at whenever your sack outlet works. And this is actually a pretty neat commander for both Giganta, which is a 5-color companion. A little bit tricky because some of the elementals you want to have multiple pips of the same color, or a Kahira companion, which is an elemental's anthem effect. So pretty free companions you could throw in here. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about some of the big, terrifying elementals you can get on the battlefield for 4 mana.
Yeah, you play Ashling for 3. Next turn, you literally evoke out a Nyxbloom Ancient.
For 4 mana.
So you instantly evoke it out, and then as the evoke triggers on the stack, you can now, of course, tap all your permanents for 3 times the mana. But who cares? Because when that Nyxbloom Ancient gets sacrificed for the evoke clause, you get another Nyxbloom Ancient. So you will have that ability, almost guaranteed, unless someone can somehow kill Ashling before Nyxbloom Ancient enters the battlefield. Yeah. Which can't happen, obviously, but...
You probably don't want to do this on turn 4 because you won't have any more mana to tap for Nyxbloom Ancient. But this is the kind of thing that this deck is capable of. Like on turn, 4 or 5 maybe, you could evoke a Nyxbloom Ancient, you could evoke 2 more things.
Yeah.
Because you just can get these huge, powerful stuff on the battlefield. One of the big ones that we talked about a lot in the game nights was Maelstrom Wanderer.
Yeah, I was like, when is Maelstrom Wanderer coming down? Because if Josh evokes this for 4 mana, it's game over. You get the double cascade trigger from it, as you are casting it.
So it's 4 mana to cast an 8-drop that cascades twice.
Yeah. The token copy that enters doesn't do it because it's just an ETB when you sacrifice it, right?
Yes, yeah. So, but you have a 7/5.
You have a 7/5,
with.
yeah.
That gives the rest of your creatures haste. So that's a very scary thing that could happen the turn after they untap with Ashling. The other one that I kept thinking about was Avenger of Zendikar.
Oh, everyone's favorite baddie right
Elemental.
Here.
A lot of secret elementals. So when this enters, this makes all the plants. So if you cast this for 4, you probably have 4 lands. You make 4 plants. You sacrifice the Avenger. You get another. You make 4 more plants. And then if you play your land after you've evoked the Avenger of Zendikar, you still have a copy around to get the counters on all those plants.
Yeah, that's insane.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, because now you're going to get twice the number of plants and then you wait for your land drop.
Yeah.
The thing about this card that makes it so busted is you don't really care so much about the Wooburg paying to like keep the token around.
No.
Which means that you're not actually hampered on your mana. You could be playing a mono red land base and not care, right? You could just have 4 mountains, tap it, and then play a Yurk the Desecrated or whatever elemental that's out there with a bunch of colors in it and not care because it's just a 4 mana cost.
Because it totally fixes you for anything you want to cast. Like we're going to talk about some of the Cavaliers, which are like blue, 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 or red, 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 and you could play all 5 of them in this deck, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yurk is especially powerful. Again, this is an elemental because it doubles the ETBs. So because you're getting 2 tokens, you're going to get 4 times the number of ETBs as long as your commander's in play.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Yeah.
So there's obviously a lot of typo stuff that you could put in this deck as well. Elementals are a very strong type, just generally. They have a lot of good typo support. They have 2 Omnaths, Omnath Locus of Rage and Omnath Locus of the Royal, both care about elementals. The Locus of Rage says whenever it or another elemental you control dies, Omnath deals 3 damage to any target.
You'll get 2 of those triggers the turn you play it. You evoke it out because you get the first evoke trigger, then the token sacrifice will also get it to you.
And then you get another one when you'll sacrifice at the end of turn. So you'll deal 6 damage, you play a land, you get a 5/5, and you get to swing with this one. And that's just if you use the evoke effect.
Yeah. If you have a Risen Reef out before you're getting all your shenanigans going with Ashling, then you're getting tons of elemental ETB triggers happening as well. So you're just accruing value very easily in this deck as well.
The weird thing that is with Ashling is that evoke is a cast trigger. So cost reducers, especially typal cost reducers, work with Ashling. So Urza's Incubator makes cards cost 2 to evoke.
My
Urza's
goodness.
Incubator, naming elementals, means that you can cast anything for 2. Brighthearth Banneret, an elemental that makes elemental spells cost less, makes them cost 3 to evoke.
Also makes Ashling itself cost less too as well.
Or if you want to make it free, there's a famous elemental that does this. Animar, Soul of Elements.
Hilarious.
Animar, blue, red, green for an elemental. Whenever you cast a creature spell, put a +1 counter on Animar. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each 1/1 counter on
Evoke is
Animar. So evoke is a casting cost, so it will trigger Animar. You probably don't want to evoke out Animar. You'd like to keep it on the battlefield, but it can get this down to free. So you can just dump all of the elementals from your hand, double all their ETBs, get a really big Animar, reduce the casting cost. So even if they kill Ashling, you still have an Animar alive.
And you're an elemental deck with Animar out, which is just crazy.
Which is wild.
Yeah. Because at that point, then your, Maelstrom Wanderer could maybe just cost a Teamer.
I mean, this is like a wildly explosive deck that can put anything into play. There's a lot of secret elementals. There's a lot of really powerful ones that you're not going to remember.
Yeah.
So it's just, if somebody untaps with Ashling, it's likely they're going to have a bananas turn.
Yeah.
And we haven't even started to talk about some of the tricks you can do once you add sack outlets or graveyard synergies.
Yeah, so Ashling says whenever you sacrifice a non-token elemental, it doesn't say another or a different. I don't think that's actually magic text. So it means that you can sacrifice Ashling herself.
That's one of the craziest things you can do is if somebody goes to remove your commander, which is really powerful, you can sacrifice her to a Goblin Bombardment or a High Market or something.
And get another one.
Get a token copy of Ashling and you will keep it until your end step.
Right, so it's their turn. It stays around all the way until you begin your turn and get to your end step, and then that trigger goes on the stack.
So if you have a sack outlet on board, you need 2 removal spells to get Ashling off the battlefield. And then even if they do get to their end step, they could pay Wooburg just to keep Ashling. To keep that
one around, yeah.
And it's the same.
Pay Wooburg or just 5 mana to recast Ashling.
Yes.
Right? At some point, the Wooburg cost... If you have a sack outlet, it becomes cheaper than the commander tax, yeah. Because you will need to kill this. This is one of those commanders, we talked about this in our Red Flags episode. Yeah. It has to be removed on site.
You just can't. You don't know what's in their hand, and it could be the game.
It could be the game, yeah. Or it's just such a insane momentum build that you only have, now your outs are reduced to just like certain board wipes.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about some of the crazier things you can do with this. So like Greater Good is an incredible card if you can cheat big elementals into play. So we were talking about stuff like a Maelstrom Wanderer. These are huge creatures that you have temporary tokens of that you can evoke Maelstrom Wanderer, get the double cascade, sacrifice the 7/5 after it's on the battlefield to Greater Good, draw 7, discard 3, then you sacrifice the Maelstrom Wanderer and get a second Maelstrom Wanderer that's going to go an end of turn, and you can sacrifice that one to Greater Good as well.
Yeah, and whatever maybe it evokes out or cascades out.
You just have so many free bodies that sack outlets like Goblin Bombardment or Greater Good are incredible accelerators in terms of what you're doing.
Yeah.
But there's even more powerful sack outlets that you can combine with Ashling.
Yeah, Birthing Pod, because again, the token sticks around till the end of your turn, you will have the ability to sorcery speed, tap 1 and a Phyrexian mana to Birthing Pod out, something even bigger and scarier.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind,
it's an 8-drop to a 9-drop or a 7-drop to an 8-drop.
The tokens keep the mana value of the permanent they copied.
Yeah.
So if you have a Birthing Pod or a Pyre of Heroes, you could sacrifice your Drifter into a 6-drop. You could sacrifice your Maelstrom Wanderer into an Omnath.
Yeah, any of those spells that basically do the Birthing Pod thing seem really good in this deck because you're saving so much mana already. So I think Ashling is more like you want to play her on a turn where you have the ability to play her and then evoke something out, potentially 7 mana.
Maybe.
Because it's just so scary for your opponents.
I don't know. If you're playing it, I feel like you have to kind of give it a shot on turn 3 or maybe turn 2 if you have 1 mana creatures.
Or turn 0 in certain decks.
Look.
Turn 1, I mean.
Yeah, so I definitely think that you have to be careful if you're playing this deck. There's some very, very powerful things you can do, and it's going to be very resilient because of the graveyard synergy as well.
Yeah.
A cool card that Josh played that I think a lot of people are going to miss
busted.
Is Riveteer's Ascendancy.
Yeah, whenever you sacrifice a creature, you may return target creature card with lesser mana value from a graveyard to the battlefield. Tap, do this only once each turn. So you would think like, oh, sweet, I can do this a bunch of times. No, but you do get something back. Mm-hmm. And the token copy, right, also has the mana value. So if you choose to not do it the first time you evoke it out, let's say someone kills your Ashling.
Sure.
Then you create, cool, I evoke something out. Now I can bring it back with Riveteer's Ascendancy by you throw it to the graveyard instead.
Yeah, it is lesser mana value, so you have to have something in the bin that you've evoked earlier. But this just means that the bodies that you've thrown away for value early can come back. So something that we found out with this deck is you are sacrificing a lot of your board. You're spending a ton of your turn generating value, getting temporary tokens, and drawing a ton of cards and making a ton of mana. But in terms of actual defense on the board, you don't have that many creatures.
Right.
So stuff like Riveteer's Ascendancy or other recursion pieces like Haunting Voyage.
Oh, yeah.
That's like brings all your elementals back from your graveyard is going to be really important in this deck.
Ugh. Disgusting. So disgusting. Because, they finally got rid of your Animar. Because it was protection from white and black, so they somehow burned it out or something.
It's fine. They got there. Yeah.
Got there.
So it's hard to exile.
Sorry, it's a 3-drop, and all the cards I'm casting or putting out on the battlefield with Riveteer's Ascendancy out are like 7-8 mana. So they have to basically exile your graveyard. So this is like a 2-step deck. You have to kill Ashling twice if they have a sack out. You have to exile their graveyard a lot of times because they're going to bring stuff back. And you have to deal with things twice because they die and then come back after they're evoked.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Look, I also wanted to mention there is combo potential in this deck.
No way, really?
When Animar's on the battlefield, of course, everything kind of goes crazy. But there's an elemental called Grave Sifter. That's 5 and a green. When it enters the battlefield, each player chooses a creature type and returns any number of cards of that type from their graveyard to their hand.
Oh.
Grave Sifter returns all your elementals from your graveyard to your hand. So obviously, if you have a cost reduction, you can just cast your entire hand and put it all to the graveyard.
The evoke cost is 0 now.
But Grave Sifter enters, sacrifices itself, and then when the second one enters the battlefield, it can return itself back to your hand.
So then you can just play it, sack out like Goblin Bombardment, whatever, just redo this over and over again with Animar, and yeah.
So as long as you can reduce the evoke cost on your commander down to nothing or 1, something cheap, Gravesifter can enter the battlefield any number of times on your turn.
Cool. Now, obviously, there are a lot of infinite combos in Magic. This one requires a bit of setup.
Yep.
But
it's very powerful.
Even without Animar out, and you're just, let's say you're just evoking out Gravesifter, you're still getting so much insane value.
Yeah. I mean, the value that this deck can generate, like Green Warden of Marasa used to be like a commander staple.
Right.
This is when it enters, you can return a card from your graveyard to your hand, and when it dies, you can exile it and return a card from your graveyard to your hand.
Oh, but the token copy doesn't care about the exile
Exactly.
clause.
So if you evoke a Green Warden of Marasa into the battlefield, you can bring it, get an elemental from your graveyard, sacrifice it, not exile it, any card, sacrifice it, get another Green Warden, get something else back, sacrifice that, exile get the original Green Warden back. So you can put these like crazy loops together where you're just recasting your graveyard over and over and over again because the recursion is going to be really strong in this deck as well.
Yeah, maybe it was a mistake back in the day to have Evoke be an alternate casting cost.
I don't know, maybe.
Because anything that says cast a creature spell and reduce it, and it doesn't say this cost, they didn't add the text like this cost can't be less than 1. So outside of the incubator and other, like there's a lot of other cards that reduce creature spells being cast from your hand or certain types. So you can get this down to 0 even without Animar out. So there's like multiple ways that you can set this combo up, or just not even a combo, just set it up so that you just have one of those turns that takes 20 minutes and you've basically cast, let's say, like 50 mana worth of spells.
Yeah, and you're getting copies of most of them.
Yeah.
Extremely explosive. It can do some crazy stuff. And we haven't even talked about the other way you can take this deck. If you want to be a little bit less graveyard focused, you can lean more into the tokens. So this deck is really good at making good, powerful tokens.
Right.
So Populate is going to be very powerful as well. Nesting Dovehawk is sort of the poster child for this. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, Populate.
Yep.
It just gives you a free elemental and it gives you one that sticks around. And that's the really important part here.
Yeah.
But there's some other cards that do it as well.
Yeah, Life Finds a Way, the classic Jurassic Park one, whenever a non-token creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield, you populate.
So whenever a non-token creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield, when it enters, you get 2 triggers. You get a Life Finds a Way trigger and the Evoke trigger. So you have the Evoke trigger triggers first, sacrifice the permanent.
And then you get the the token. And then the Populate thing says, oh, there is a token here now.
Yeah, found a token.
Wow.
Populate it. It does work exactly how you want it to in this deck.
Yeah.
As long as you're playing elementals that have high power and toughness, which seems likely.
Very likely, yeah. Mustard of the Departed is a way to Nesting Dovehawk just on your end step with Morbid, but thank goodness Morbid cares about something dying and evoking means something will die.
And temporary tokens love our favorite little watch, sundial of the infinite.
It's a sundial. It's neither.
It's neither. It's a timepiece.
A timepiece, yeah. Giant timepiece.
Sundial of the Infinite, it says 1 tap, end of the turn, activate this only during your turn. So you put the sacrifice trigger from your commander on the stack and activate the Sundial of the Infinite and basically clear the stack and pass the turn. So you get to keep all of your tokens rather than sacrificing them.
Yeah, this is absurd.
Yeah, this deck is wild, and you can do so many things with it that it's like you could make it more typal, you could make it less typal, you could go more graveyard, you could go more token, you could do weird combo loops, but it's going to be very powerful, and it's going to rely entirely on your commander.
Yeah. This is, again, delete on-site commander. Maybe the first time they play it, you let them have their fun one time, and then you're like 30 minutes later, you're like, why did we let them have their fun?
But it's pretty wild.
Even at 5 mana, even at 7 mana, this card is still really powerful.
You're talking about the evoke cost?
Yeah, no. If
you're talking about the commander.
The commander itself. If it costs 5 mana, still busted.
Yeah.
If it costs 7 mana, still pretty powerful.
It's a powerful effect. It's just hard to actually do everything.
Yeah, you just have to get a bunch of mana going. But you're in Wooburg, you have all the tools in the world to do this. I do like that you put Gigantha in this outline as well, because this just taps to add Wooburg, and there's a lot of cards that just do that.
Yeah.
So if you want to have those cards in there, this is also an elemental.
It's also an elemental.
Yeah, that gets haste.
That gets haste from your commander. So you can actually pay for that ability if you evoke a Gigantha onto the battlefield.
Yeah.
You can use the hasty Gigantha to tap and keep itself.
Yeah. Now, if you do this as companion, it'd be an interesting build, but then you can't play Avenger, you can't play Nyx Bloom, you can't play Omnath Locus of Rage.
The companion is pretty tricky with Gigantha.
But you can still make a really busted deck with this if you wanted to.
Yeah. That's Ashling. All
Pretty
right.
solid.
Let's keep moving to your commander from Game Nights.
It's Bre of Clan Stoutarm with beautiful art by Jesper Icing.
It's so good.
It's so good.
She's got little sheepies in her pocket.
Yeah, huge shout back to Brian Stoutarm as well, which is just like one of the original commander staples for Boros Commander is the Fling Commander. And I love a good Fling Commander. So this is 2 red and a white for a 4/4, a giant warrior with a bunch of cute little sheepies. You can pay 1 and white and tap Bre to give another target creature you control flying and lifelink until end of turn. And then the separate line of text, which is the important one, at the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost if the spell's mana value is less than or equal to the amount of life you gained this turn. Otherwise, put it in your hand. Okay. So as long as there's a single instance of gaining life this turn, you will get this trigger. If you gain 1 life, that's good enough to get a Path to Exile or a Swords of Plowshares, but it will go until it hits a non-land, not until it hits one that it can go for, like Cascade. So you do want to gain enough life to make sure that you hit stuff in your deck. So 1 is typically not really what you're going for, unless you have top deck manipulation.
Or you don't have to have gained enough life to even cast the thing, because if you can't cast it, it just goes to your hand anyway.
Yeah, that's right. This is one of those exile effects that's really powerful because you just put it into your hand, sort of like what happens with Discover.
Sure. Yeah. It's I want you to look at this card and have it say, at the beginning of your end step, if you've gained life this turn, draw a spell.
Draw a card, yeah. Draw a spell, yeah.
That's what it says. Sometimes you can cast it for free, and that's great. But other times, you can't, and that's also fine. This is the Boros life gain commander that draws cards.
Yeah, it's absurd.
It's really sweet. So, and it's a lot less complicated than it looks. So, let's talk about the life gain, because I think that's where people are going to want to start. Bre helps you get life gain triggers just by tapping to give another thing flying and lifelink. So she's going to be able to get another creature in, deal some damage, gain some life. So you don't even have to focus on life gain all that much if you think you'll keep Bre in play.
Yeah, it does. You have to do it the turn after she's played unless you have enough mana and haste. But 1 and a white tap, it actually think it is quite a substantial cost. When I was building this deck, I found that I was like, you know what? I just want to have life gain outside of Bre. I would hate to make it so obvious what I'm doing, go to swing. If anything, I want to do this effect to try and win the game, to try and create an attacker that kills someone.
That's fair.
But it can also just be a huge chunk of life gain if you have big creatures on the board to do it with.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about this deck a little bit, because I think when you're building a life gain deck, your first instinct is just put all the Soul Sisters in it.
Yeah.
And this deck is sort of a fine Soul Sisters deck. You can absolutely put Soul Warden, Soul's Attendant.
Just to make sure you get one trigger.
Just to make sure that you have gained your life this turn. But it's more of a big chunks of life gain type of deck.
Yeah.
Like you do want to gain 4 life in a turn. So creatures with lifelink also reliably get you that life gain trigger and give you a big enough chunk that you will likely cast a spell for free.
Yeah, Fae Ascendant is the big easy one in white. It comes down, it's just classic commander again, because it already is a 6/6 as long as you have 30 more life, and then it has flying as well. So it's just a 6/6 lifelink flyer potentially on turn 1.
Crazy.
Yeah. I've seen this thing get crazy out of control.
Yeah.
Just because people are like, oh, fine, we'll deal with it later. It's not that big of a deal now, but it ends up gaining, 18 life or whatever. And then people are like, crap, we got to kill this thing.
Yeah, actually, this monk
needs
to go.
It's a little too late. Yeah.
I like this deck as just sort of like a life gain flyers deck. Like I was looking at Gisela the Broken Blade. It's 2 white flying first strike lifelink, and it does the Brizella thing.
The melding,
but mostly this thing is just a nasty beater that is going to stick around, gain you a bunch of life, draw you cards with your commander, and be a problem.
Yeah, be a huge problem.
We've talked more and more about how life gain is really good in Commander right now because it buys you time. Yeah. Games are really fast. You can die really efficiently, really quickly, but life gain buys you a little bit more time than the rest of the table, which often gets you that one extra turn to take out the player who did a bunch of damage.
Yeah, and sometimes it's 2 extra turns because I've had games where the entire table full swings out at you and you're like, I don't care. I go to 30. Next turn I go up to 70.
Yeah.
See ya. Especially because white has this thing where you basically just can be really resilient as well. Unless they're exiling your graveyard, you have Celestine the Living Saint, which is always just popping stuff back up based on how much life you've gained this turn. So Celestine is basically like, you can just look at a Celestine list and get a lot of inspiration for how Bre list could go.
Yeah, Celestine's awesome, and it just means that you're like, okay, you killed my one thing, well, I'm going to get it back.
Yeah.
So
Celsius is probably the best card in the deck.
Yeah.
I would say.
sweet.
Exemplar of Light is also really good because whenever you gain life, you put a 1/1 counter on it, and whenever you put a counter on it, you draw a card, and the ability triggers only once per turn. So if you somehow have a block for someone that's coming in and trying to full swing at you, Exemplar of Light can draw you cards on other players' turns as well.
Yeah. Other life gain payoffs have gotten a lot better over the years. The Gaffer says if you've gained 3 or more life, you draw a card. So very similar to your commander, but it can trigger the Gaffer on other turns. And Nykthos Paragon is whenever you gain life, you may put that many +1 counters on each creature you control. Do this only once each turn. So this goes really well in like the big life linky build.
Yeah, and there's also cards like Sarah Avatar or any of the ones that are like it's equal to the number of creatures your opponents control or whatever. Like those just huge cards. Because if you look at the Brian Stoutarm decks, it's all about like putting one of those out and then flinging it at your opponent.
Right.
But in this deck, that card also now can be given lifelink and flying by you. So now you can
commander,
hit someone. There's also that card that switches your life total with your life as well. So there's lots of ways to just like have a 40-point life swing out of nowhere with this deck.
Yeah, maximizing your commander's first ability.
Yeah, just getting tons of life and then flinging something and then being like, cool, I just knocked out a player thanks to the fling abilities I have in my deck, and now I have also 80 life.
Yeah. Jimmy's list is really cool. You'll see it once Game Nights comes out, and it does have that special focus on Brian.
Yeah.
The final thing I wanted to talk about was library control. If you wanted to take full control of this free cast effect, library manipulation helps a lot. And it helps you hide some of your trixier things. Because that is the one.
You draw like a 7-drop or a 6-drop and you're like, crap, I don't need this in my hand. How do I get it back up there?
Yeah, I mean, it's also like if white and fling effects are dangerous, like those tricks to tell your opponents that you have.
Right.
So being able to set up a card that you're fine if Bre reveals to the table is also very helpful.
Yeah, like a signet or just something less
that's
crazy.
Fine.
Yeah.
Free value, great. The Scroll Rack, Sensei's Divining Top are both good ways to set up the top few cards of your library and get those big, scary spells back on top of your library so you can cast it for free with your commander.
I forgot about this card that you put on here. It's hilarious.
I love this. And I don't know how good it is in the deck, but I had to mention
I think it's
Orcish
good.
Librarian.
It's huge. You're looking at a lot of cards here.
I mean, this is 1 and a red for a 1/1 orc. He's got an activated ability that's red tap. Look at the top 8 cards of your library, remove 4 of them at random from the game, then put the rest on top of your library in any order. So you get 8, you get rid of half of them, and then you stack the top 4 of your deck to decide which ones you're going to draw and set up where you want your lands to be, that kind of thing. It is a weird little Sensei's Divining Top.
Yeah, this can punish you, obviously, if you get like 4 lands, 4 creatures, or 4 spells, and then you exile the 4 creatures and only have lands or whatever. But it is pretty sweet. Like,
it's red. Come on.
Yeah,
it's cool.
4 cards, yeah. The last thing I wanted to mention is that this deck, if you're looking to be a little cheeky, can play cards like Lembas, which allows you to redraw it, right? Like draw a card, it replaces itself and gives you just an instance of 3 points of life gain for just sacking of food. So cards like that, I think, are actually okay. And there's also a lot of scry effects as well you can put into this deck. Like scry 2, scry 3 effects are really good because then you can help manipulate the deck as well. But they obviously are a little lower power level. So there's a way to make this that's a little more like cheeky and fun. Yeah. Because Scroll Rack is also a very expensive card. So it's hard to get that into the decks if you're not really willing to put that in the budget.
That's Bre. Bre is super cool and the art is incredible. If you want to pick up any of the cards that we're talking about today in this episode, you can do so while supporting the show. If you go to cardkingdom.com/command.
Yeah.
Card Kingdom has a huge selection of Magic cards, which makes it the perfect place to go after a new set comes out. If you're looking to pick up a bunch of the new cards that you're excited about, buy them all in one place and they can ship it to you safely and accurately. I get so frustrated when I get the wrong card sent to me. Shopping from a place that I know has a great team to take care of me if something goes wrong, and they're really good. They know Magic cards really well, and I've never had a problem with it. So shop with Card Kingdom, and you get to support the show, which we really appreciate. So go to cardkingdom.com/command.
And then head on over to ultrapro.com/command. Here in the new year, they have cool stuff like Apex sleeves. They just have the best shuffle feel of any sleeve that I've ever used.
And if you're a Final Fantasy fan, they've just put out a new series of Final Fantasy art. So go check that out if you didn't get the playmat of your dreams from Final Fantasy.
Yeah, those definitely sell out quickly. So get on the website, make sure you're on their newsletter as well so that you can check all that stuff out when it comes out, because some of their products are obviously more high in demand. And that's at ultrapro.com/command.
Finally, you can support us directly by going to patreon.com/commandzone. All of our patrons help keep the lights on over here, but they get access to some cool perks like seeing game nights and extra turns a day early without ads. You get to participate in polls and discussions that we have based on podcast episodes. So if you watch the Zonies episode, all of our patrons got to vote on the best cards of the year. They literally determined how that episode went. And you can become a patron by going to patreon.com/commandzone. And we shout out one lucky patron every single podcast episode. This one is dedicated to
Caleb John.
Caleb and John?
You rock.
You rock.
Yeah, another 2 first name kind of person. Love it.
All right, let's get into the next card. We are talking about Brigid, Clachan's Heart.
Yeah, very cool. This is one of the cards that has a transform ability on it. There's a lot of cards in the set that do that. Sort of represent their Lorwyn and Shadow-MORE sides. This is 2 in the white for a Kithkin warrior and a Kithkin soldier on the back. 3/2, whenever this creature enters or transforms into Brigid Clachan's Heart, create a 1/1 green and white Kithkin creature token. So 3 mana, get a 1/1. At the beginning of your first main phase, you may pay green if you do transform Brigid. So this just flips it. It doesn't exile it, so it's still, it will not have summoning sickness. It becomes Brigid, Dune's Mind, also a 3/2 Kithkin soldier now. And you can tap it to add X green or X white, where X is the number of other creatures you control. And then at the beginning of your first main phase, you may pay white if you do transform Brigid. And again, when you do that, it will create a 1/1 green and white Kithkin creature token. So this comes in as 2 bodies. You have to wait to your next turn to transform it, and then it can tap immediately for at least 2 mana.
Yeah, this is a sweet card. I mean, it's a fairly straightforward green-white Selesnya tokens deck. But Brigid has a lot of the pieces that you're looking for. I think if I was going to build this deck, I would first thing I would do is add as many of the 1 mana creatures as possible.
Yeah, Brigid on turn 2.
1 mana creatures. So all the Llanowar Elves that you can. So you play a Llanowar Elves on turn 1, then you cast Brigid on turn 2. It comes in with a token. And then
3 creatures.
So you have 3 creatures, but Brigid doesn't count herself, which I keep forgetting.
Oh, right.
So then on the next turn, when you will hypothetically have 4 mana, you can pay one of those to flip Brigid. And then you have 3 mana untapped and Brigid taps for 2. So you have 5 mana on turn 3 to work with.
Pretty good.
And that's assuming you can't get like a creature into play after you flip it and then she taps for more.
Oh, right. You can pay it'll pay for itself if it's another 1 mana dork or whatever. Yeah, you can definitely get to a really explosive start with a deck like this. And there's a lot of cards in green and white that love to tap for mana, love to add mana, love to make creatures bigger, make more tokens. This is just green-white at its core, pretty much.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of good models for how to build this deck. I would start with stuff like Selvala, Eager, Trailblazer. This card's busted. I can't believe it doesn't see more play. It's 2 green, white for a Elf Scout. It's a 4/5. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you make a Mercenary and then tap, choose a color, add 1 mana of that color for each different power among creatures you control. So if you have Selvala on the battlefield, it taps for a lot of mana, it makes more bodies, it's going to serve Brigid very well.
Yeah.
And because you have all these 1 mana creatures in the deck, that works really well with this kind of creature that cares about when you cast creature spells and makes more bodies. Just snowballs your mana a lot faster than if you were just playing 1 creature that doesn't come with other bodies.
Yeah, you're going to pump up this deck by just making a ton of bodies. Doran's Fist of the Angels, whenever you cast a creature spell, you create a 1/1 green and white human creature token with training. And it itself has training as well, so it attacks, puts a 1/1 counter. That creature can now attack, put a 1/1 counter on something else. So if you're at the point of the game where you don't need the mana anymore, Torrens is a great way to transform your board into now an attacking army.
Yeah, and stuff like Ultec Matterweaver, there's a ton of these. Whenever you cast a creature spell, make some sort of body.
Do something, yeah.
And you're going to have a lot of mana very, very fast. So I think you have to think about this deck in terms of 2 things, is how do I make a ton of creatures? And my answer is a lot of 1 mana dorks and a lot of things that care about when you cast creatures that give you more bodies. And you can also pair it up with other effects that are similar to Brigid to make the mana. So Circle of Dreams Druid is a great example that taps add green for each creature you control.
And
Avendo,
the creature itself,
that kind of
Avendo,
thing.
yeah.
But The other side of that is, okay, we've got a lot of creatures. We've got a lot of mana. Now what do we do with all that mana?
Ooh, yeah. Well, you pump it into giant spells, either X spells, like Jacked Rabbit, which is a ravenous creature that when it attacks, you make a number of 1/1 white rabbit creature tokens equal to its power. March of the Multitudes is a great card. I'm surprised this card doesn't see more play, but I guess in token decks, it's just kind of one of those like obvious includes.
It's a gold card. It's hard to find
X,
for it.
green, white, convoke, and you create X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens with lifelink.
Well, yeah, just big top end stuff. You're going super wide, so the way that you're going to win the game is likely an overrun spell like Overrun or Crater of Behemoth. All of those are going to give you the kind of top end that a green-white tokens deck is naturally looking for.
Yep, that's ending the game status.
And then more classic mana sinks, I think, are a good way to go here. So stuff like Abandoned Air Temple, which is the new land from Avatar. That's 3 and a white, tap and poke, +1 counter on each creature you control. But you could also put the green-white one in this deck.
Oh, yeah.
Original.
Yeah.
So you have both instances of that. Cavity Township. There you go. Well done. So you can buff up your board and make sure that you're spending all that mana that you have.
Yeah. A Spider-Man card, Silk Web Weaver, is both a cast trigger. So you cast a creature spell, you create a 1/1 green and white human creature token, and also has 3 green-white creatures you control get +2/+2 in vigilance until end of turn. So this is also a win con. You can also web sling it out because you have so many mana dorks, so you can get this out for 3 mana instead of 4.
Nice.
But yeah, just a very efficient card for the deck.
Yeah.
It's very straightforward what this thing's trying to do.
When you have a ton of mana, you have to make sure you're spending it or you might as well not have the mana.
Yeah.
So the other side of that coin is card draw.
Yeah,
if you don't have mana sinks, make sure that you have cards in your hand to spend it on. Augur of Autumn is great, lets you cast creatures from the top of your library and play lands. Duskwatch Recruiter is one of my favorite mana sinks in the game. 2 and a green, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So that's an activated ability you can activate as many times as you have mana on a little 2 mana creature, which is going to work really well with all these other creature cast triggers.
Yeah, you get to look at the top 3 cards.
Pretty good.
The sort of worst version of this is Nylea Kenai, which is a 4 mana spell, but you do 2 and a green to just look at the top card, reveal the top card of your library, and then you can surveil it into your graveyard, basically, if you don't. If it's a creature card, you put it into your hand. Otherwise, you may surveil it.
These feel really inefficient in terms of mana, but it's a great place to put when you just have 12 mana. And you're like, I've got 1 card in my hand. I really need just anything to spend this on.
Yeah, it's terrifying, too, when your opponent goes, all right, I'm going to trigger my Duskwatch Recruiter 3 times, and they do it, and you're like, oh my gosh, Brian Kibler, what are you doing here right now? I'm so dead.
I'm going to draw so much gas, too.
Yeah.
You can also go the other direction with token decks like a Toski, Bearer of Secrets.
Right.
Or
go wide.
The go wide, just attack with all your tokens. You'll lose some tokens in the process, but you'll also draw a fair amount of cards.
Yeah, you're probably not transforming Brigid back into her front side ever.
I don't think so.
You just want that mana ability, and you have to wait a whole turn basically to transform her back. But yeah, once you get that going, it's just a commander that is just very basic on its face, which is you get to make tokens, and you get to tap for a lot of mana. So you just have to fill in the other blanks, which are win cons and drawing cards. Yeah,
this is a fairly straightforward Selesnya deck in terms of token strategy. So there's going to be a lot of examples that you can build off of online. But it's also a pretty good deck for somebody who's new in Commander, I think.
Yeah. All right,
let's move on.
Let's talk about a fun one. This is another classic character from Lorwyn. A lot of people are going to be excited about this one. And Rachel, you play this on games.
I did. It's Doran. He's back, and he has been besieged by time.
The siege tower has been besieged?
He's been besieged. What's happened, Doran?
Nice.
1 white, black, green for a legendary creature tree folk druid. Each creature spell you cast with toughness greater than its power costs 1 less to cast. Doran, you up to your old tricks.
Old tricks.
Whenever a creature you control attacks or blocks, it gets +X until end of turn, where X is the difference between its power and toughness.
So it itself would give +5/+5 because it's a 0/5, like the original Doran as well.
It attacks and blocks as a 5/10, basically.
Nice. And if you have the original Doran out, it actually deals 10 damage because it's assigning common damage equal to its toughness. That's pretty cool.
So the Dorans do work together pretty well. This is an aggressive deck. So this is a very front-footed Doran deck that focuses on high toughness and evasion.
Yeah.
Notably, it avoids creatures with Defender. At least my version did. I just didn't like the extra step of having a piece that says they can attack. I just wanted creatures with high toughness, so I was looking at like turtles and tree folk and a lot more of the defensive pieces.
Yeah, fortunately, you got tons of choices in these colors.
Yeah. So I did like some amount of the toughness matters stuff. I did put Doran in, where it assigns damage equal to its toughness, or Baldan Century Herdmaster.
Yeah.
So that lets them assign damage for their butts and gives them an enormous buff.
Whenever Baldan attacks up to 100 target creatures, each get +0/+X until end turn, where X is the number of cards in your hand. He's a 0/7 as well, so he attacks as a 7/14.
Pretty sweet.
Pretty sweet, yeah.
And he like pumps all of your team, so you can like have Baldan pump first, and then
not all
Doran.
of your team. If you have 200 creatures, only 100 of them.
That's true. That's true. You got to be careful there.
Sorry.
So I did like those kinds of effects because they're effectively damage doublers in the deck. They work really well because they have a super high toughness. So like Bedrock Tortoise is perfect, 3 and a green. As long as it's your turn, creatures you control have hexproof, perfect, because you do want to get into the combat step. Your deck is pretty soft to Doran getting removed. Each creature you control with toughness greater than its power assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power.
Yeah, so you want at least a couple of those effects because it just doubles your power. Yeah,
pretty sweet.
Yeah, Feckin' Green Shell,
one of the best cards in the deck.
3 green, as long as you control 10 or more lands, creatures you control get +2/+2. But more importantly, whenever Feckin' Green Shell or another creature you control with toughness greater than its power enters, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land, you may put it onto the battlefield tapped. Otherwise, put it in your hand.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah, this card is absurd. Every time I see it get played and it triggers twice, 3 times, you're like, oh gosh, how do I get past this?
It triggers one on its own, and
this
the ETB
Feckin' Green Shell. Fecund? No.
Also, there's good ways to build around having high toughness. There's a lot of one-sided board wipes, like Wave of Reckoning, as each creature deals damage to itself equal to its power.
Nice. Punch yourself.
Yeah, Doran's a little bit less good with the choose a total amount of power and like sacrifice everything else.
Oh, right.
Because it buffs you, so it gives you like an awkward timing.
You have to do it before the combat.
Which doesn't really make any sense. So Wave of Reckoning is really good, but not all of them are perfect.
Yeah, what about equipment?
Oh, Robe of Stars?
Yeah, this card's really funny. Put a robe on him.
It's a 1 and a white. Equipped creature gets +0/+3. It equips for 1 and has an activated ability. Equipped creature phases out.
For 1 and a white, yeah. So it's protection. A little expensive, but just for 1 creature. But in a pinch, this only equips for 1. I didn't realize that.
Gives you
really
a huge buff, and you can protect one of your key pieces.
Yeah.
I feel like Robe of Stars is worth playing.
Yeah, it's really fun.
We talked a little bit about fling, so I wanted to mention the booty fling card, Catapult Fodder. The beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 3 or more creatures that have toughness greater than their power, transform Catapult Fodder. It is itself a 1/5, so that helps a lot.
Yep.
And then on the back, 2 and a black, sacrifice another creature. Target opponent loses life equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness.
Yeah, Catapult Captain.
Notably, your commander doubles the toughness. So it means that if you attack with your commander and somebody goes to remove it, you can fling him for 10.
Yeah, or
something else.
Yeah, we've seen some cases here that could be 12, 14. Yeah, that's a lot. That's just death on a stick.
Absolutely. It's pretty good at throwing stuff as long as you can get it flipped over, which shouldn't be too hard.
Yeah, so you need a lot of butts in this deck, and we're not playing the defender cards, so we're just looking for cards that just happen to have higher toughness, right?
Yeah, I mean, toughness higher than power isn't really a high bar to clear, so you can run just like generically very good cards. I was running Voice of Victory.
Oh yeah, this card's so good.
It's 1/3, it attacks as a 3/5, and it protects your turn. I was running a fair amount of these effects because it felt very delicate to removal. If somebody just killed my commander on my turn, then the attack that I thought I had, I just don't have.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure I was locked down and in control. 6 is also pretty good because it attacks mills 3 cards, draws you a land, attacks as a 4/6.
Yeah.
And then it can turn those lands into recursion, making you a resilient Abzan deck like you want to be.
Yeah, 6 ends up just being one of those cards too that you just have to kill. And if you don't,
6.
It gets so nuts because you can trigger it multiple times each turn by retracing stuff over and over again.
There's a lot of really sweet just beaters in this deck that'll do a load of damage. And the one I wanted to mention was Gorm the Great.
Gorm, welcome back, Gorm.
3 and a green for a 2/7 giant warrior. So he attacks as a 7/12.
Hello.
with Vigilance. Gorm the Great must be blocked if able and must be blocked by 2 or more creatures if able.
7/12 is really hard to kill.
That will take down a couple of very important pieces. It has Vigilance too, so it blocks like a maniac. He's really cool.
Yeah, he's great. You put Shadrick's Silver Quill on this list. I'm a huge fan of this card. It's a 2/5 with double strike flying, and that means it becomes a 5/8. Yeah, double strike in the air. At the beginning of combat, you kind of do a group huggy thing where you have to choose 2 things that target a different player. One can be yourself. To either make a flying Inkling a 2/1, or make a player draw a card, lose a life, or put a 1/1 counter on each creature they control. I often find that there's almost always one of these that's just totally fine. Like someone has 1 creature, you're fine, get a 1 counter, or they have no creatures. Someone getting a 2/1 flyer or a card draw is like a really nice favor as well politically.
Yeah, and Inklings aren't bad with your commander either, because notably, Doran's second ability doesn't care about if the toughness is higher. It's just the difference.
Oh.
So Inklings attack as a 3/2 if your commander's on the board, which is kind of fun.
So there is a build where it's all just high power as well in this deck,
There
right?
sure is.
That's
We're going to talk about it in just a moment. Because I did want to mention there's a couple of cards that are just neat with this. I wanted to mention Sorin of House Markov. This is 1 and a black for a 1/4 with lifelink. So it attacks as a 4/7 with lifelink. And it says at the beginning of your post-combat main phase, if you've gained 3 or more life this turn, exile Sorin of House Markov and return him to the battlefield transformed under his owner's control.
Yeah, it becomes a sweet planeswalker.
So he turns into a planeswalker, which make you food, but also can start zapping people for the amount of life you've gained, which is a great burn engine, and it goes really well. There's a lot of good life gain cards in toughness decks because they're defensive. So you could build this sort of as a life gainy build if you'd like to.
Pretty cool.
All right, but let's talk about no buts.
Yeah, no buts. So Doran just cares about the difference between power and toughness. So what if you had a card like Yargle and Multani, which is a generic vanilla 18/6. So it attacks as a 30/18. In the year 3018, Yargle and Multani destroyed the world.
And Yargle, it was a 9/3, attacks as a
15/9.
15/9.
Yikes.
They do not have evasion. They are on the deck.
That is
like,
so funny.
I almost built him this way, but it's like...
Yeah, it's a little...
it's a little cheeky. But Calaxian Hunger Tyrant is another one. This is 1 black for a 7/2.
That's right, from Ether Drift.
So it attacks as a 12/7. So there's a lot of different examples of this. There's a lot of like 7/3s with downside for 3 that work really well with Doran. So
you can play butts and no butts. You could run this deck and just have Yargle and Multani.
Just have a secret one in
there. Just
there.
to have a 30/18 attacker.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
But big thing is you do have to have no butt.
No butt.
No buts about it. You have to make sure you have a plan for evasion because you're going to have a lot of big idiots and nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So if you're going to build it that way, there's a ton of really funny options, and you just have to focus on trample.
Yeah. You won't get the mana reduction, notably.
You won't.
Which is only 1 mana, which is not crazy, but it is pretty good over the course of a game. It's like having one of the diamonds, not diamonds, one of all your red spells cost 1 less type card.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We have a lot more commanders to talk about, including the one that I think might rival Ashling for the most powerful in the set. But you should let us know in the comments which you think earns the title of most powerful in Lorwyn. Stick around. We've got to hear a few messages from our sponsors.
Here at the Command Zone, we're specialists.
Yep, we specialize in rectangles, and we're at our best when rectangles are all we have to think about.
Luckily, Square makes payments easy so we can focus on rectangles.
When I go to my local game store, they use Square to make paying for my pile of rectangles fast and easy.
I just hand them my credit rectangle, and in no time, I'm checked out with a digital receipt in my inbox. They even have a loyalty reward program, which keeps me coming back.
See, Square makes the complex operations of your business simple with reliable hardware and intuitive software that can handle everything from payments to back office tasks.
They're a great partner no matter what your needs are. Even if you're like us and just need to sell merch out of a booth at Rectangle Con, Square's got you covered.
Yep, we may be in the rectangle business, but Square, well, that's a shape I can get behind.
Wait, remember elementary school geometry? A square is a rectangle! Square helps you run faster, sell smarter, and stay in control even when things get busy.
And why wait? Right now, you can get the $200 off Square hardware at square.com/go/command.
That's SQUARE.com/GO/command. Run your business smarter with Square. Get started today.
This message is sponsored by RAYCON.
You know what I really want to work on this year?
What's that?
Being a better listener. Really hearing people more.
That's actually awesome because I have some big ideas for the office. The first one is everybody gets a puppy. The second one is every puppy...
Put it in an email. What I'm talking about is I want to keep using my RAYCON Essential open earbuds. They make me a better and safer listener by letting me hear my surroundings when I'm playing my music and podcasts. The open ear design means I still get crystal clear audio quality without blocking out important stuff like car horns or alarms.
Or puppy barks.
I've really been liking my RAYCONs for the gym. They're lightweight, comfortable, and the 36-hour battery life with 8 hours of playtime means even my arms will give out before they do. Plus, they're just half the price of other premium brands, and they come with a 30-day guarantee.
You know, those sound like the perfect earbuds for when you're out walking your brand
I already have a dog, Rachel.
But this one will be smaller and more lightweight, just like...
The Essential Open Earbuds are here to help you crush your New Year goals. Go to buyraycon.com/commandopen to get 20% off site-wide. That's buyraycon.com/commandopen to get 20% off site-wide. Thanks, Raycon, for sponsoring.
Hey Josh, how's it going?
Oh, hey, fast food. How you been?
Oh, bad, man. I thought we had a good thing going. You used to order me every day.
Sorry, fast food. I've got Factor now. Their delicious chef-prepared meals have really helped me live a healthier lifestyle. Plus, they deliver right to my door, saving me time and money.
Okay, I'm a bad habit, but come on, aren't you bored of Factor by now?
Not at all. With the huge variety that Factor offers, I'm always trying new things. They've actually expanded their menu with new Asian-inspired dishes influenced by China, Thailand, and more. I've even been enjoying their salad options. Just today, I had the Santa Fe chicken salad with tortilla chips and cilantro dressing. It's healthy and delicious, unlike some giant talking hot dogs I know.
Salads? Oh, man, I guess it really is over between us.
Oh, don't cry, fast food. Here, have a Factor meal. On me.
Oh, dang. That is good.
Eat smart at factormeals.com/command50off and use code command50off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code command50off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. This exclusive holiday offer won't last. Lock in your savings before the New Year rush. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase.
Yes, I win! Probably, anyway.
Probably. What's going on?
I just goldfished a huge turn on ARCHIDEKT. Check it out, they've got the best playtester in the business. Playing and tapping your cards is as simple as clicking them. Everything goes right where you want it, but you can drag things by hand and group them together in different ways too. Then there's easy shortcut keys for things like making copies, sending cards between zones, and starting the next turn.
Nice, so this is a Traxa. All that proliferating's gotta take a while.
It doesn't actually. Just right click and hit proliferate all counters.
Oh wow, yeah, you probably do win.
I think so.
ARCHIDEKT is the best place to browse, brew, and playtest commander decks. Just go to archidekt.com/commandzone to get started.
That's ARCHIDEKT.com/command-zone.
Welcome back, everybody. We are talking about the most powerful commanders in Lorwyn, and there are some bangers, including this next one.
Yeah, one of the first cards previewed from the set. It's Eirdu, Carrier of Dawn. 3 white, Carrier of a cough.
Carrier of Dawn.
Carrier of Dawn. 3 white for a 5/5 elemental god flying a lifelink. Creature spells you cast have Convoke, so your creatures can help cast those spells. Each creature you tap while casting a creature spells pays for 1 of mana or 1 of that mana's color.
Sweet.
At the beginning of your first main phase, you may pay black if you do transform Eirdu, so very similar text to the other transform card. And it turns into Isilu, Carrier of Twilight, which is a 5/5 flying lifelink, so same stats there, but it says each other non-token creature you control has Persist. So when it dies, if it didn't have a -1/-1 counter on it, it comes back with a -1/-1 counter on it. Pretty sweet. Not tapped, not the end step, it just comes right back.
This is, I didn't think about Isilu in Ashling. That's gnarly.
Oh, God.
You give your LBs, it's an elemental. So
That's
you
right.
give your elementals Persist, and then they come back and you get 3 copies of it. Anyway.
Or Convoke, because you can invoke something out and then
tap them for,
it. Yeah, for mana, right?
So this card's really sweet, and I do think that there are 2 decks in here. One of them is Eirdu, focusing on the Convoke side, and one of them is Isilu, focusing on the Persist side.
Yeah.
You can have a little bit of crossover between the 2 of them, but you should really have a preference for which side your commander is on.
Yeah, these transform cards, again, are clunky because you have to wait until your first main phase. So you have to wait an entire turn to flip it. So that leaves you extra vulnerable and extra punished if your commander gets removed. So you don't want to be going like, okay, now I have to flip it to get the rest of my game plan on because I just drew that card in this deck that wants to do it. So yeah, you're better off focusing on one with maybe a little crossover.
Let's focus on the Isilu sides first, because I think this is going to be more popular. It is also extremely powerful. The static ability, each other non-token creature you control has Persist. It's absurd. It's fairly really good.
And you can get rid of -1/-1 counters very easily, especially in your white deck, because you just put a +1/+1 counter on it. It negates it.
Right. +1 counters and -1 counters eliminate each other. So if you have something like Cathar's Crusade that says whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1 counter on each creature you control.
The persist brings it back, and then it immediately gets rid of it?
Yes, you put the -1 counter on it, and the Cathar's Crusade triggers, and it's eliminated.
Hooray.
Or Felidar Retreat, perhaps. Play a land, put a +1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures gain vigilance.
Get your dice ready.
Then you just jumping back and forth between these -1 counters, sack your whole board, they all come back, play a land, put counters. Now they don't have -1 counters on them.
Yeah.
And you can sacrifice them all again.
Yeah.
Or you can just straight up go infinite with anything that has Undying.
Yeah, so we've long known this. Machias the Unhallowed is this classic card that gives other non-human creatures +1/+1 and Undying. So when it dies, it comes back with a 1/1 counter on it. It's basically the opposite of persist. So you have this and a Sealu on the battlefield. Every time it comes back, it immediately comes back with no counters, basically.
Yep.
Because both of the things happen, and then boop, the counters go away.
So if you have Machias and Isilu on the battlefield and any other creature with a sack outlet, it can enter the battlefield infinitely times.
Yeah.
Or if you don't want to have a 6-mana Machias on the battlefield, it's okay. You can have like a 2-mana Undying creature like Butcher Ghoul.
Right, so that itself can just be sacrificed to come back over and over again.
And as long as you have a sack outlet with a payoff, then that's totally fine.
Yeah.
The other thing you can do is play creatures that enter the battlefield with +1/+1 counters on them.
Clever.
So something like Zac Fair is very, very powerful in this deck. It's a single white for a 0/1 human soldier that enters with a +1 counter on it.
Right.
Great. So when it enters, it with the -1 counter, the +1 counter immediately cancels it out.
And then
1 sacrifice Zac Fair. Target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. Put Zac Fair's counters on that creature and attach an equipment that was blah 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 blah.
wow.
So you
it
have
sacks itself.
You can give your commander or any other creature on the battlefield basically indestructible whenever you want, as long as you have the mana up to activate Zac.
Which is just 1, and then it dies and comes back with a 1/1 counter, and you can do it again. So there are ways with a Sealu and Zac out if you have 5 mana up to do this 5 times.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Just
Protect your whole board.
Yeah, and just at someone's end step, be like, okay, cool, no one's going to do anything, so I'm going to do this Zac Fair combo, and then have it still out on the battlefield to do it again for new creatures that you play.
Yep. Scholar of New Horizons is also a neat one. It enters with a +1 counter on it, so it's perfect for this.
Right.
And then it taps to remove a counter from a permanent you control. Also very good. We can remove -1 counters. Searches your library for a plains, reveals it. If an opponent has more lands, you can put it onto the battlefield tapped. Otherwise, it's in your hand.
Amazing.
Seems really good. It can remove the -1 counters and ramp you, and it is really easy to keep looping.
Yeah, and it can remove its own counter as well. It doesn't just have to be the -1 counters.
Right. The other thing you can do is just make sure that no counters go on anything ever.
Yeah, Solemnity is a classic card that is like...
Just no counters.
Yeah, counters can be put on artifacts, creatures, enchantments, or lands. You will find that some decks just look at this card and go, oh no.
I lose.
Yeah, careful though, because this affects yourself as well.
Yes.
So if you have stuff that, you're trying to put your own stuff that is outside of it, you're doing the 1/1 counter thing and you want those 1/1 counters, this won't happen. But yeah, this card's sweet.
You have to be careful what you combine it with. But it means that when it comes back with persist, it just won't have a -1 counter on it, and you can persist infinitely.
Infinitely,
Vizier of Remedies does effectively the same thing, but only turns off -1 counters on your own things.
Yeah, that many -1 counters -1 are put on it instead. Text is so funny.
That many
I'm
-1.
sure they could have found another way of putting this on the
but
card.
it made them laugh.
Yeah, so sack outlets. This card obviously speaks to aristocrats builds or just value. So if you have an infinite sack outlet, Ashnod's Altar just creates infinite colorless mana. Umbral Call It Zealot is infinite surveils.
Yeah.
Pretty good. There's a lot of
Pretty
good sack outlets in this deck. Yeah, you can play any of the altars and just go nuts with it.
Of course, you also need payoffs. Something like a Marionette Apprentice, which is particularly good in this deck.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Oh, my
it has
gosh.
Fabricate 1.
Yeah, when this creature enters the battlefield, you put a 1/1 counter on it, or you create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. So this just seems like an absurdly easy way to put together an infinite.
Yeah, it doesn't trigger when it dies, so that's
right.
a big part of it.
Okay.
But it will give you a ton of value, and it protects itself as long as your commander is on the battlefield. I do want you to be careful with aristocrat effects in general. Very popular ones have 1 toughness, which makes the persist not very good.
Oh, right.
So something like Zulaport Cutthroat would be good, is good, but it's not protected by persist because it comes back with a -1 counter on it and just dies.
Yeah.
Unless you have a Solemnity or something that says it won't enter with it. But you could also throw all that out the window and really just focus on stuff that have powerful ETBs. Like Grey Merchant of Asphodel, if you can sacrifice 2 or 3 times, you will kill the table instantly.
Yeah, or you play cards like Massacre Worm that just, when stuff starts dying, you can add up the -2/-2s over and over again if you have the Solemnity thing going.
So that is certainly a way that you could go. This is going to be a powerful side, but you do have to keep in mind that you have to get your 5-mana commander into play, get it flipped, and then go off.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of steps to this being really powerful, but it is an extremely powerful line of text.
Yeah, very cool.
Let's talk about the front side. It's a little bit less popular, but it's the side I'm more interested in is your creature spells have Convoke.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many Aristocrats decks out there, and Nisilu just is screaming to be broken infinitely.
Yeah. But Eirdu, this line that creature spells you cast have Convoke is a line of text I've been waiting for on a Magic card for so long.
Really?
I think it's really cool. It's a cool way to make white explosive.
Ah, okay.
To give you a ton of resources really, really fast. So the first step, of course, is making tokens, which white's really good at. And it's really good to do before Eirdu comes down.
Yeah, you just have a big board so that you can instantly tap stuff and cast more with it.
So you play Charismatic Conqueror, for example, and this is the one that pumps out white vampire tokens unless stuff doesn't enter tapped.
Yeah, they choose to tap it or not. Most times they're just gonna...
They should have it enter tapped.
Yeah, but
if they don't, and they're greedy, which some people will have their soul rings come in untapped, you'll get some 1/1s out of
right,
this.
it's an artifact or creature in this case, yeah.
But also Bitter Blossom, Grand Crescendo, those just give you a ton of tokens all at once. You can do it on end step, cast your commander, and then you're going to have a bunch of tokens on the battlefield to immediately use that Convoke ability.
Yeah. And you're in black-white, so you don't actually have that many of those like cards that just draw you cards when you cast creatures, like Beast Whisperer or whatever. But you can have cantrip cards, which are really good in these types of decks because the creatures themselves basically grant you a mana back.
Yeah, they're like weird cantripping mana rocks.
Yeah, like Helpful Hunter, Wall of Omens are both creatures that enter for 2 mana that draw you a card when they enter, and then you only pay 2 for it. Then you can tap it to again get more out of it.
The thing that I think is really neat is once you can get to this point where you have a bunch of tokens on the battlefield, you have Eirdu that gives everything Convoke, that you can like cast a big thing that enters with a bunch of tokens, and then that'll give you more mana to cast another thing that enters with a bunch of tokens.
Yeah, there's turns where you could generate again like 12, 15, 18, 20 mana
just
off of
like
chaining stuff together.
Kind of wild. So I was looking at top end that make tokens just because it goes sort of well with the rest of what the deck is doing.
Yeah. And they're kind of win cons in their own
And they're
right.
kind of win cons. Overlord of the Mistmoors is a sweet one because you could cast it early. It gives you 2 creatures for your Convoke ability, or you could cast it late and it gives you 3 creatures for your Convoke ability and even more.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Summon Knights of the Round spits out like so much material.
Yeah, it's a saga creature, so it comes in and over the course of 4 turns, it'll make 3 white creature tokens each turn, which is pretty sick.
I mean, that's so much mana. Like you play this thing, you get 3, you have 4 creatures immediately. Then next turn you get 3 more.
Yeah.
That's 7 mana if you have your commander in play.
Yeah, and this is by itself, so you're presumably tapping stuff to play this for cheaper.
Right.
Or not for cheaper, for just a more quickly.
Yeah.
Abhorrent Overlord makes a bunch of harpies equal to your devotion to black, so if you're more of the black side of things, then you can definitely have this do a lot of work if you're,
Yeah.
So that's sort of like where the Grey Merchant and the Masvidal maybe is. There's a little crossover.
Yeah.
Where you like get a huge board out, have a Grey Merchant, and then you can flip it and then do a crazy little sack thing just once even to get the persist, to get the trigger twice or whatever.
Right. You can put together a deck that like uses the aristocrat side, like the sack outlets and the drain stuff with all the tokens side of it.
Yeah.
And both of them can sort of be gravy for the other deck, I think.
Yeah.
One I thought was kind of neat was Angelic Aberration.
Oh, this card is beautiful. It's just
so
something I want to see.
It's angelic. 5 and a white for an Eldrazi Angel. It's when it enters the battlefield, sacrifice any number of creatures, each with base power or toughness 1 or less. So all your tokens. Create that many 4/4 colorless Eldrazi Angel creature tokens with flying and vigilance.
Ooh, tap all of the stuff, play Angelic Aberration, sacrifice
all the tap stuff, get a bunch of angels.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to untap with that board to close, but if you have 4 or 5 4/4 flyers, that's some very serious.
Yeah, I'm fine with 3. Even 2, I'm kind of happy.
You're like, oh, that's sweet.
Because you're convoking this out, so it's not as much of a strain on your mana base.
Yeah,
and
they have
gives you the mana
vigilance,
back.
right?
Yeah,
so you could attack with them and tap them.
Yeah, very cool.
Sweet. I love this idea of this like big white ramp deck.
Yeah, it's cool.
And then you could do some of the like reanimator stuff that White's good at to bring your big angels
And Black's
back.
good at too.
And Black's good at. That's true.
Black, the front side feels like a much more fun mono white deck, but the fact that you have the black for your Abhorrent Overlords or your Bitter Blossoms is
you can
fun.
totally go the other way.
And then you just play, if you want to have another, the cool thing about this is you can draw a card. If you have more Black Pips, you have your Grey Merchant, you get to build the side of the deck that's cool. I naturally have this way to sacrifice something. Even Zach Fair is good on both sides because it's just a cheap creature to play out that gives protection and can tap for mana, right? So basically a white mana dork in this deck.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of crossover. The big thing I would mention to keep in mind is anything with 1 toughness is pretty tricky because that persist just doesn't work.
Doesn't work on the other side,
so keep that in mind when you're building it. But otherwise, there's a lot of flexibility here. You can do some really cool, powerful stuff.
Yeah, very, very fun.
All right, let's move on to another one of the transforming cards. This is Grub, Storied Matriarch.
Another amazing Jesper art.
It is. He's so good at goblins.
So good, yeah. He redefined goblins for me, with Charbelcher and stuff. Yeah. 2 in the black, 2/1 Goblin Warlock with Menace on the front side. When this creature enters or transforms into Grub Storied Matriarch, return up to 1 target goblin card from your graveyard to your hand. And then, like all the other transform cards, it says at the beginning of your first main phase, you may pay, in this case, red if you transform Grub into Grub Notorious Auntie. A lot of aunties in Goblin lore. Also, 2/1 with Menace. Whenever Grub attacks, you may pay Blight. You may Blight 1. If you do, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of the blighted creature, except it has at the beginning of the end step sacrifice this token. So Blight 1 is just put a -1/-1 counter on a creature, any creature, right?
Yep.
So pretty cool. You can blight an opponent's creature. You can blight your own creatures, right?
No, you can only blight your own.
Okay, you can only blight your own stuff. Okay,
yeah.
So you may blight 1, so you can blight your own thing.
Yeah.
To give it -1/-1 counter on it, and then you create a tapped and attacking token creature of it, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah. So you have to keep in mind that in order to get this trigger, Grub has to attack herself. She does have Menace, but she's pretty little.
Yeah,
she's only a 2/1. So I wanted to mention that, yes, you could build this as a Rakdos Goblins commander. There are examples of what a Rakdos Goblin deck looks like online, so we're not going to spend a ton of time talking about that build. But if you want to focus on the front side, go check out Wart Boggart Auntie.
Oh, yeah,
and that'll give you an idea of what a Rakdos Goblin deck should look like.
Yeah.
But we're going to focus more on this Blight ability, on the Notorious Auntie's ability, because it's a little bit more open-ended.
Yeah, you hope to play Grub, maybe get a Goblin card back, but you want to flip it into this cool other side that blights and then goes crazy.
Which makes sense because you can't even get the trigger until she doesn't have summoning sickness anymore. Yeah. So you play Grub, the next turn you can flip Grub and you can attack the turn that she's flipped. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was creatures to blight. So good things to make copies of. And remember, you get an enters ability and a dies ability. So you can kind of go in either direction. A big one I wanted to mention was Archpriest of Shadows.
It's one of my pet cards. I love this card. Yeah, it's so sweet. 3 black.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Instead of blight, we're backing up.
Right?
Back it up.
They work together.
Yeah, they work together because backup 1 enters, you put a 1/1 counter on a target creature, and then if it's another creature, it gains all of the abilities of Archpriest of Shadows, which is a death touch creature that says whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or a battle, you return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Okay, so there's a lot that works really well with your commander here. First of all, giving Auntie Death Touch, really good.
Menace,
so it turns into a 3/2 Death Touch Menace attacker that when it hits, you're going to bring something back.
Yeah. And when it attacks, you can make another Archpriest of Shadows.
Exactly.
To give the double the abilities, right? You can have twice the number of abilities on it, so it can swing. So now it's a 4/3, and then when it attacks and when it hits, you bring 2 creatures back.
That's cool.
That's cool.
You could put the counter on the original Archpriest of Shadows that you blighted to take the -1 counter off
of it. Yeah.
So this is a great thing to copy, and you're making all of your stuff smaller and easier to kill.
Yeah.
So having good graveyard recursion to make sure that you can keep playing things, keep looping things, I think will be really important.
Yeah. If you have a way to get the Archpriest into your graveyard as well, you can bring it back the next turn with you can bring it back the same turn with the token copy of it, which is kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah. If it dies to the blight.
If it dies to the blight,
Yeah. Good things to copy. I mean, Junji is sweet. It's legendary, so you don't get to keep the token all the way through combat, but you get that dies trigger right away. You can have each of your opponents discard 2 cards or reanimate something from the graveyard.
Yeah, and if you want to sacrifice the original Junji to get, maybe it's at the end of the game, you want everyone to discard 4 cards and lose 4 life instead, or you want towards the end of the game, where it's like, I don't need this creature around, I just need to close out the game, make everyone discard their hand, or I get these 2 really impactful things back. You can sacrifice the original legendary version of it, and then the token copy will die and do it again.
Yeah. This is also a great Massacre Worm deck. Having a Massacre Worm enter the battlefield every turn is backbreaking. Having 2 Massacre Worms enter at the same time, the game's over.
Yeah.
If you play a Massacre Worm, give everything -2/-2, attack with your Auntie, copy the Massacre Worm. Now everything gets -4/-4, and you get 4 damage per thing that dies.
Yeah.
You're going to close out the game.
Yeah, and no one's going to be able to block you because -4/-4 on everything is pretty much a board wipe in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Or enough to make a menace creature even better.
Pretty
with
good.
the Auntie, yeah.
Card Door is a great way to disrupt.
Yeah, go to everything, make them all attack so that you can have a free attack your turn.
Yep, this one's also legendary, so it's you'll sacrifice the token that's attacking likely, unless you want to chip in for that damage. But having a way to just repeatedly get this card or trigger is really powerful.
Yeah, and there's a lot of value you can get by getting more creatures to do things over and over and over again. Worm Coil Engine is the classic. It'll make 2 3/3s when it dies. One's got Death Touch, one's got Lifelink. I love Anti-Causal Vestige.
Yeah, I think this is pretty good in the deck.
Yeah, so it's a card that you can warp out from Edge of Eternities. It's 7/5 for 6 mana, warp 4. When this creature leaves the battlefield, you draw a card. Then you may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from your hand onto the battlefield tapped.
Yeah.
So warp it out, attack with Auntie, create a copy of it. The token copy will leave the battlefield and give you a free card. And then the Anti-Causal Vestige will warp out the end of turn to give you another free card, and you can play it later on for just its regular cost.
Yeah.
And then do it again. So you get 4 triggers off of this, basically, with the Auntie out.
And can cheat in up to 4 things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seems pretty sweet.
Yeah, really good value.
Notably, it doesn't work with Evoke. Because you need to get to the attack trigger. So Warp only works because it sticks around.
Yeah.
Let's talk about evasion because you do have a little Auntie to get through.
Yeah.
Vorak Battlehorns is a fun option. It says equipped creature has trample and can't be blocked by more than one creature.
Yeah, it's the classic menace creature. Haha.
Bam.
Bam.
She's got menace, so she can't be blocked.
Ever, yeah.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah. Agent of the Shadow Thieves is a background commander creatures you won't have whenever this creature attacks a player. If no opponent has more life than that player, you put a 1/1 counter on the creature, gains Death Touch and indestructible.
Yeah, unblockable basically. And she gets a little bigger.
Yeah.
Access Tunnel is a good one to have in reserve in case you need it in the late game. She is going to give you some amount of value. If you're activating Access Tunnel, you want to be making sure that you're getting at least 4 mana worth of value from the creature you're copying.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of cards that do this on tap abilities, but the best one is Break Through the Line. It's 1 in red. For an enchantment, you just pay red, and then creature with power 2 or less gains haste until end of turn and can't be blocked this turn. So you could have an Auntie turn where you replay her later on and then get the ability immediately, or just wait to play her until turn 4 or when you have 4 mana.
Yeah, and you're blighting your creatures, so eventually they'll all be power 2 or less.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's a very good point. Yeah, the blight one line of text really seems irrelevant once you're getting the thing going.
Yeah.
Or actually, no, you still have to wait a turn when you play Auntie with this because you have to flip her into the Auntie side. Yeah, my bad.
Haste doesn't do a ton with Auntie, but...
and then you have the Battlefield Regalia or whatever the Assassin's Creed one is, which is the classic, just unblockable.
I thought the Regalia got you a land. It made something
Brotherhood Regalia?
Brotherhood Regalia.
Not Battlefield, yeah, Brotherhood Regalia.
Assassin's Creed. I was thinking of the car from Final Fantasy.
The Regalia, the 4-mana car. No, not that one. They're both Regalia, which is kind of funny.
All right. There's one more category I wanted to talk about because, again, you're making token copies that have the mana value of the thing you're copying. So it's really good to have sacrifice effects in this deck.
Right.
Braid's Arisen Nightmare is perfect. You sacrifice the token. That's going to get sacrificed anyway. Your opponents are forced to sacrifice a creature or...
lose 2 life and you draw.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
This is a sweet Burnt Offering deck, finally.
This
is a ritual. That's a single black for an instant. Sack a creature, and you add that creature's casting cost in any combination of a red or black mana.
Yeah, the mana value.
So if you copy like a Massacre Worm and you sack it, you get 6 mana back.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet. And you can do that post-combat.
Yeah, Sacrifice is the original version of this card, I think, which is basically the same thing.
But just black mana,
black mana, yeah. I had a similar deck with my Shui Feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, the copies have the mana value, which is kind of sweet.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Rakdos the Muscle is another cool option. It says, whenever you sacrifice another creature, exile cards equal to the mana value from the top of target player's library. Until your next end step, you may play those cards, and mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells.
Oh, yeah.
So if you sacrifice a 4/4 drop, you impulse draw 4 cards for your next turn.
Yeah, that's from anyone's library, too, which is kind of sweet.
Probably yours, but maybe your opponent's.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe
their deck is sweet.
Yeah.
Broadside Bombardiers is one that I definitely wanted to...
Huge win con in this deck as well.
First of all, you can blight it. So you could have 2 Broadside Bombardiers.
Yeah.
No, it enters tapped and attacking. So technically it doesn't boast. But you attack with Broadside Bombardiers and you can fling a 6-drop and deal 8 damage to any target.
This deck is going to be very aggressive.
Yeah,
so you
front
want
foot.
to have that. Yeah. So Devi Adnate is the card that is huge in the Shui Feet deck, which is basically the same stuff as Burnt Offering or Sacrifice, but you get to tap it on a creature as well.
Yeah. Finally, I wanted to shout out a card that I really like. I actually built this as a commander deck and ended up taking it apart because it didn't quite get there.
But it's coming back with
cool.
Auntie, I bet.
It's Kethek, Crucible Goliath. It's 2 black-red. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-legendary creature card with lesser mana value. Put it onto the battlefield, then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
Would you look at that?
Gives you a token to sacrifice, and you get a free body off of it. Seems pretty sweet.
Yeah, very cool.
All right.
That's Auntie Braids, or not Auntie Braids, just the Auntie.
Grub,
yeah. Thanks, Jesper, for another amazing art. Mm-hmm. All right, this next one, a lot of people were talking about...
her feet.
Her feet, yeah. It's High Perfect Morcant. Beautiful art by Victor Adami Minguez. 2 black and a green for a 4/4 elf noble. Whenever High Perfect Morcant or another Morcant, can or can't, who knows, or another elf you control enters, each opponent blights 1. So each opponent will have to put a -1/-1 counter on the creature they control. So this or another elf.
It's so brutal.
So brutal. And then
each opponent does it.
The card could have ended there, by the way.
Guys.
Tap 3 untapped elves you control, proliferate. Activate only as a sorcery. So,
well, good thing elves aren't good at making a ton of elves, huh?
Play High Perfect Morcant. Put 2 elves out.
Play 2 more elves.
Everyone blights 3. Tap them all. Proliferate all the blight counters. It's a board wipe.
Rude, dude.
So rude. Get stepped on.
Ugh. So this is an elf typo list with a -1/-1 counter theme. You're going to have a lot of natural counters to proliferate because of your commander, of course, but you can also lean into like the elf +1 counter synergy that goes along with a lot of elves.
Sure.
Because proliferate is a very powerful effect. You could even lean into planeswalkers, which we're going to get into as well. So let's start with typo elves. We're going to run through this pretty quick because there's a lot of lists online.
Priest of Titania and Elvish Archdruid both tap for each elf you control. Leaf Crown Visionary gives elves +1/+1, so does the Archdruid. And then whenever you cast a spell, elf, you may pay a green to draw a card. So just like the classic elf thing.
Make a ton of mana, draw a ton of cards.
Yeah.
The big difference is you want a lot of elf cards that go wide. So the more tokens, the more better. Lathril, Blade of the Elves, is going to show up here for sure. When it deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens. It's
especially
a 2/3.
If they're getting buffed up by your other cards, so you can make 4 or 5. And then you tap it and then tap 10 untapped elves to make each opponent lose 10 life and gain 10 life. That probably is pretty possible with this
Probably
deck.
could happen, yeah.
Just look at, if you want to build this list very quickly, just look at the list for Lathril and you'll get a lot of the way there, right?
This card has already spiked in price. Sorry. It's Flourishing Defenses. 4 and a green. Whenever a -1 counter is put on a creature, you may put a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token into play. Yes.
Morcant plus this is immediately 3 elves. That immediately does it again if there's more creatures on the battlefield until they're gone.
Yep. You wipe your opponent's board repeatedly and you make that many elves.
Yeah, you basically make 12, 20, who knows? You make a lot.
Ton of elves.
Yeah.
Huge problem. If they go Morcant into this, huge problem.
Yeah, game over pretty much.
Yeah. Or this into Morcant. I guess
into
goes
Morcant,
the other. Yeah. Anyway, really powerful. And then elves are pretty good at going wide. You've got Elvish Warmaster. Whenever 1 or more other elves enter the battlefield, make an elf.
Yeah.
Lys-Alana Huntmaster. Whenever you cast an elf, make an elf.
By the way, Lys-Alana is not a name. Okay, so it's just a place.
It's a place, and she's the Huntmaster of it.
Yeah.
And then there's Elvish Promenade and Elven Ambush are essentially the same, and they make elves equal to the number of elves you control.
Yeah.
So a lot.
Yeah, so this is, again, another remove on site commander, but it's in a deck that is so good at replaying its commander because it just has infinite mana, because it's all got the dorks.
Yeah, you really have to remove the mana generation first. That's the annoying part of this, is like you have to remove Morcant for sure because it will continue to wipe your board. But if they have one of the things that says like you make mana for the number of elves you control, they can just recast it. It's free to do so. So remove the thing that's making them a ton of mana first, then you can get to the commander, and you're going to have to sacrifice some amount of your board.
Yeah, it's like an early board wipe type of game where you want to just... They got it off to a crazy start. They played 3-4 things. You held back a little bit so you didn't get blighted, and then you board wiped really quickly.
Yes.
Or or just did some sort of thing to get rid of their what's it called? Their Priest of Titania type stuff.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about counters. So elves are pretty good at counters. There's Evolution Sage, an elf. Whenever a land enters, proliferate.
Nice.
There's Trommel's Seymour's Butler, Seymour Butts.
Seymour Butts.
Each other non-token creature you control enters with an additional +1 counter on it. Sure, great.
Sure, why not?
1 tap, proliferate X times, where X is the number of non-token creatures that entered this turn.
Oh,
sure,
gosh.
fine. Also an elf.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy elf.
Yeah.
Yawgmoth gives you -1/-1 counters.
It's a human though, Rachel.
It's a human. It's fine. You're not leaving Yawgmoth out of this deck if you want to spend the money on him.
Yeah, Yawgmoth
he's busted.
just one of those cards that when it gets played, it's like, oh, it's a Yawgmoth game.
Yep.
You can proliferate by discarding cards, or you can sack creatures to give creatures -1/-1, and you draw cards. It's insane.
Also, you're like, Rachel, I'm tapping all my elves. How am I going to untap my elves to proliferate more?
How silly could you be?
Green couldn't be great at that. Vitalize, mobilize.
Vitalize, mobilize.
They're both instant. Well, one's an instant, one's a sorcery that untaps all the creatures you control. A lot of people were running the ones that untap your lands on, or untap your creatures on end step.
Nah, you want to do it in your turn.
It doesn't work with your commander.
Yeah, activate only to proliferate.
You can only proliferate at sorcery speed, so you want stuff that untap your elves on your turn, not at the end of your turn. Doesn't do anything. Dianus, Elvish Archdruid, has got to be one of the best cards in the deck. This is an elf that says elves you control have, whenever this creature becomes tapped during your turn, untap it and put a +1 counter on it. This ability triggers only once each turn.
Gosh.
So it gives you a counter to proliferate, and it untaps the elves after you've tapped them.
So you can do it again, but only one time. But that may be enough. It probably is going to be enough, yeah. There's a lot of things that just get +1/+1 counters on cards that go nuts in this deck that you can then proliferate. So Maralen the Nurturer, whenever another elf enters the battlefield, you put a 1 counter on it and can tap to add green equal to Marwen's power. So you're just, boom, going crazy, proliferating, and then tapping this for a bunch of mana. So it's going to be maybe even more powerful than Priest of Titania at some point.
Yeah. Generous Patron is always good in -1/-1 counter decks because it says whenever you put 1 or more counters on a creature you don't control, draw a card.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Which is bananas. But it's also an elf. Why? Why is it an elf?
Yeah, and it enters supports too, so you can put 1 counters on 2 other target creatures, so it can start your own proliferate train. Or if you need to draw a card, you can throw it on something else that then gets blighted away immediately.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Totally fine.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
Tribute to the World Tree is a good one. It just draws you cards if your stuff is big. Otherwise, they enter with counters on them, so it just gives you more to
2
proliferate.
1/1 counters on them. Yeah, they're huge.
Evolution Witness, also an elf. Whenever you proliferate, you get a thing back from your graveyard. That seems good.
It adapts itself if you need it to, but you'll probably find another way to get a 1/1 counter on it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Planeswalkers. This is really sweet. I didn't even think about this.
It's completely cracked. There's Tyvar Kell and Freyalise Llanowar's Fury both make token elves, so that's good.
So good.
And then it says
Tyvar gives all your elves tap add black, by the way.
Already great. And then it says +1, put a +1 counter on up to 1 target elf, untap it, it gains death touch until end of turn. It makes an elf token, or at -6, not that hard to get there.
With a proliferate deck.
You get an emblem with whenever you cast an elf spell, it gains haste until end of turn, and you draw 2 cards.
Oh my goodness. So
You'll deck
all of your
yourself.
elves have tap black. Yeah, it's a non-domain ability.
Yeah.
So.
You gotta be careful.
Yeah,
But-
Freyalise is also just good. Can kill artifacts or enchantments on its -2, but +2 just makes you a elf.
And then -6 is draw a card for each green creature you control.
Yeah.
So you could tick this up to 2. It comes in at 3. It goes up to 5. You proliferate once, and you can ult it next turn.
Yeah, that's crazy.
What about Liliana Dreadhorde General?
Yeah, insane. Another card draw engine. Whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. 6 mana for a 6 loyalty. Or you -4 it to make each player sacrifice 2 creatures of their choice, which includes yourself, which is fine. Or you plus it to make a zombie.
Or -9. Each opponent chooses a permanent they control of each permanent type and sacrifices the rest.
1 land, 1 creature, 1 artifact, 1 enchantment.
The thing is, you play this, and they need 9 elves in play to proliferate this enough to ult it the turn it comes down.
Yeah, that is definitely doable.
That's so doable.
Actually, less because you oh, you're right. Yeah, if you go up to 9 and then you instantly ult it. Yeah.
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 And that's assuming you don't have any of the other proliferate engines, which this deck is going to be good at. Vraska Betrayal Sting is also a win con.
It just proliferates on the 0. That's right.
It does.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of planeswalkers you could put into this deck. It does dilute your elf count, and you do want as many things that make elf as possible, but they're going to be very powerful top end for this deck.
Yeah.
Speaking of top end, you could also make this an Infect deck.
Yeah, not top end. This is just win the game.
Win the game and...
Yeah, so Triumph of the Hordes gives everything trample and Infect +1/+1. But you have in elf cards, Infect cards.
Yeah.
Glistener Elf, 1/1 with Infect. Breeding Corruptor, 3-mana Infect, and when it enters, you destroy an artifact.
Yep. Tainted Strike could Tainted Strike one of your many elves.
You just need to get them one counter, and then you begin to proliferate slowly.
Right.
And it's just another win con outside of all the other ways elf decks can win, right?
Yeah, I mean, even if you're not an Infect deck, I would run stuff like Infectious Inquiry or Phyresis Outbreak, because they just give everybody a poison counter and start the clock.
Yeah.
And they do other stuff, which is nice, but you're a proliferate deck, and it's not going to take that much to get them to 10. So
And the art for Phyresis Outbreak is disgusting.
Gnarly.
So gnarly.
Gnarly.
I love it.
Matthew G. Lewis crushing it.
Okay.
So there is additional -1 counter synergy you can put in this deck, but we're going to be talking about that with another commander we're talking about, so we're not going to go over that a ton here.
Yeah. Okay.
Stick around.
It's time to talk about Strixhaven.
Yeah.
Because in the story, the Strixhaven students find their way onto Lorwyn, and I believe accidentally start the whole shindig of mixing the planes up. Whoops.
Ooh.
Kirol, how attentive first year can you be? How attentive are you if you made this happen? This is 1 and hybrid Boros, so you can pay 1 red, 1 red-white, or 1 white-white to cast it for a 3/3 Vampire Cleric. And it's it says tap 2 untapped creatures you control, and you may copy a target triggered ability you control, and you may choose new targets for the copy, and you can only do this once each turn. So you can do this on everyone's turn up to 4 times in the turn rotation.
So this is a pretty open-ended Boros commander. All you need is triggered abilities to copy, and you need creatures to tap. You can build it around powerful triggered abilities, or you can build it around token triggered abilities. It's sort of up to you. Keep in mind, triggered abilities use the words when, whenever, or at. So at the beginning of combat, at the end step. Those are all triggered things that you can copy. If it doesn't say it, you can check the Oracle text. Like, I believe sagas are triggered abilities, but it won't say any of those words explicitly.
Yeah.
It'll be at the top in the reminder text.
Yeah, as at the beginning of your first main phase, do this thing.
So you can build this in a lot of ways. We're not going to go through all of them, but we're going to start with some very cool triggered abilities that make tokens that are good to copy with your commander.
Yeah, because you're going to need creatures on the board specifically to do this, hopefully a bunch of times.
Yeah, I mean, you want to activate it on every turn if you can.
If you have enough triggered abilities, yeah, totally.
Wildfire Awakener is a cool one. That's from the Convoke deck. It's X 1 red white for a human wizard with Convoke. It says when it enters the battlefield, create X 1/1 red elemental creature tokens with whenever this creature becomes tapped, it deals 1 damage to target player.
Hey, so all of those creatures become pingers. You can also play the Wildfire Awakener and tap it for Kirol's ability immediately.
Copy the triggered ETB.
Yeah. So all you need is Kirol and the Wildfire Awakener because it can tap itself.
Sweet.
Yeah, Jacked Rabbit we already talked about.
Great triggered
when it
ability
attacks, you make a bunch of 1/1 white rabbits equal to its power. So again, with Ravenous, you can make it really big.
Krenko Tin Street Kingpin is a great one to copy. It's when it attacks, put a +1 counter on it, then create a number of 1/1 red goblin creature tokens equal to the Krenko's power. So when Krenko attacks, you put a counter on it, make all the things, and then put another counter on it and make even more goblins.
Things. Yeah,
pretty sweet.
1 to 2 to 3, basically.
Yeah. Anim Pakal is another one that'll make you a ton of tapped tokens.
Right.
But it's a very good triggered ability to copy, and snowballing Anim's ability makes her a very powerful permanent in play.
Yeah, Anim is just one, again, just an absurd card every time I see it played.
It's so good.
Drum Bellower is a great way to get multiple taps of your cards because this untaps all creatures controlled during each player's untap step. So very good. Very, very good.
Yeah, if you want more stuff to copy, Aurelia the War Leader is not bad. It's whenever...
That's right. This card's really fun.
Whenever Aurelia attacks for the first time each turn, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase.
Right.
So this has the classic doubling. The extra combat is a little weird because they don't untap
twice
at the right spot.
Yeah.
But Aurelia can attack twice, and you can double your attack triggers if they've got vigilance.
Yeah, or use a bunch of triggered abilities before you go to combat, and then you untap those creatures so they can be good blockers or whatever, or we're just going to combat.
So if you want to activate this multiple times in a turn, we're going to give you some options in just a moment.
Yeah.
The other direction you could go if you want to go a slightly less tokeny is Blinky.
Yeah.
Because when you blink creatures, they untap. So they get better at copying their own ETB abilities.
Yes. And some of the blinky cards like Conjurer's Closet are triggered abilities, so you get double blinks.
You could double blinks, you could double ETBs, you could double...
Beza, the Bounding Spring, if you have
fun.
less creatures. But you're probably going to have more creatures than other players.
You
in
hope
this
so.
deck, yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah, but even just one Beza coming out, and if you get 2 of the things, because you just, again, if you don't have creatures, if you play Beza, and you at that point you don't have less creatures and you copy it, you will get 4 1/1s, draw 2 cards or whatever it is that you're doing with her.
That's cool. Okay. The other way that you can get around the limitations on Kirol is have more instances of Kirol. So Marvin Murderous Mimic is a great example. If you have Marvin and your commander in play, then they both have the ability, so they can both be activated in a turn.
Oh, right. Because
So
you can do it more than
activate it
once.
2 times.
Yeah, 2 times, yeah.
Delina is another way to get a ton of instances of Kirol's ability.
Oh, right.
Because when Delina attacks, you choose target creature you control, that would be Kirol, and you roll a d20. Then you get either a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of that creature, except it's not legendary and it has exile at end of combat. And then if you roll high, you get to do it again.
Yeah.
So she'll give you multiple Kirols,
Which
or
means,
1 Kirol,
yeah.
maybe 2 Kirols is the
and
example.
each of those can activate. If you do make 1 copy, you get 2 of them, like Marvin. Or if you get 2 copies, now you can do 3 times with Kirol's ability.
Right. And if you,
Or you can copy Delina's ability with Kirol,
get
so you
multiple
get 2.
Kirols.
Right. And you could potentially get, that's pretty sweet.
Pretty sweet. Those are big, powerful things that you can copy with Kirol to just really snowball the amount of power that you have.
Yeah, and
here.
if you have like multiple combats out and a lot of creatures, then you can get really crazy. Because then you're attacking again with Delina, you can copy it again, and you can sort of just like snowball out. And then you just have a lot of things that you can either sacrifice to like bombardments or whatever.
Pretty cool. The last thing we're going to talk about is how to make sure you can trigger them on every single turn.
Yeah, so if you have your Drum Bellower out and you're untapping all your stuff, then if you have a Smothering Tide, the Game Changer, and whenever an opponent draws a card, they may pay 2. If they don't, create a treasure token. What if you doubled that?
Sure. I mean, the big thing about using Kirol's ability is you need a trigger on other players' turns
to really
actually copy.
Yeah.
So Smothering Tide gives you something that you can copy. Or White Plume Adventurer is pretty good as well. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, untap a creature you control. If you've completed a dungeon, untap all creatures you control instead. So you could copy the untap, which doesn't make a ton of sense because you're tapping 2 things to untap 1, but it's fine.
It's fine.
Maybe it's a really powerful thing to untap.
Yeah. There are a lot of creatures that have tap abilities.
Or
Ignorance even. Or fine. Yeah, right.
Archivist of Ogma or Mangara the Diplomat that give you triggers when your opponents do stuff. Whenever an opponent casts their second spell, whenever an opponent searches their library.
Yeah.
Those are good options to copy as well.
Yeah, Wedding Ring is really funny. You cast it, if someone makes a token copy of it, you can copy that trigger.
You can copy that trigger. Sweet.
Marry multiple people.
So you can be married to 2 people.
And then whenever an opponent who controls an artifact named Wedding Ring, which could be 2, draws a card during their turn, you draw a card. So you're drawing a ton of cards. You can copy that. Right?
That
more
seems
cards.
sweet.
And then when an opponent who controls an artifact named Wedding Ring gains life during the turn, you gain that much life. Probably not as relevant.
Yeah, but you can copy that as
still
well.
copyable,
if
yeah.
you'd like to.
Ember Wild Captain, hilarious. No one will ever want to attack you because when a player attacks you when you're the Monarch, they deal damage to that player equal to the number of cards in their hand. So you could just nug them for 10.
You're like 5 cards in hand? Cute.
Yeah, twice it.
You're going to take 10
If you have Marvin
damage.
out, 3 times it.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah, pretty sweet.
Pretty sweet. So the big thing with Kirol is Kirol doesn't really care what kind of triggered ability you're copying. You can follow your heart in terms of what excites you, as long as you can pay the cost of tapping. So you're going to need to make a lot of creatures. You know that's going to be part of it. Yeah. But you could focus on ETBs. You could focus on doubling attack triggers. You could focus on beginning of turn triggers, like on enchantments or something. Just have some amount of focus in terms of what you actually want to achieve. Like where you're trying to get. I'm a go wide deck. I'm trying to make a ton of things and then make them all big. Or I'm a burn deck. I'm trying to speed up the clock on damage, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So just pick what kind of deck you are and let Kirol take you the rest of the way.
Yeah, there's a little bit of setup you have to do, and I think if opponents are wise to what's happening, they will delete Kirol off the board. Because
pretty scary.
They can see it coming from about a mile away, and then once you get a Drum Bellower out and you're doing a lot of that sort of stuff, people get kind of annoyed pretty fast, I think, with this kind of effect.
Yeah.
It's
More
very
elves. More elves.
More elves.
Lluwen, Imperfect Naturalist. This is some amazing art by Evan Fong.
Yeah, Evan did a lot of work on this
and
set.
you can tell it's so pretty.
It's so cool. Her and Ed Jesper worked a lot together too. So having both of them working as art, on the art side of things is wow.
Very cool.
Yeah, we are in for a treat, everybody.
So Lluwen is a hybrid black-green, so 2 mana, 1/3 elf druid. When Lluwen enters, mill 4 cards, then you may put a creature or land card from among the milled cards on top of your library, so you can set up your first draw, or second draw anyway. And then he has an activated ability that's 2 hybrid Golgari. So 5 mana to activate. Tap, discard a land card, create a 1/1 black and green worm creature token for each land card in your graveyard. It's
Worm Harvest. On a card for 5 mana. That's a lot.
That's what Worm Harvest costs.
Yeah. But it's sweet. This card's sweet.
So fun. The first thing I want to talk about is how many worms are you trying to get when you activate this the first time?
Oh, gosh.
Because it's kind of a lot.
Yeah, 5. If you're getting 1, you're not doing it.
No, you don't want to discard a land.
3 is like, I'd say the
minimum.
Bare minimum. And
4
even
you feel
then,
okay.
Yeah, 4 you feel okay. And anything above that, it's like
now you're talking
now
good value.
Let's get warming.
So that gives you an idea of how many lands you want to be running and how many lands you want to mill when you first play Lluwen.
Yeah, when you mill, you also want to mill 2 lands, pretty much.
So I would say like this land count is probably 50.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Like 48. It's high because you want the density so high that you actually have lands in your graveyard, and you can't really cheat on MDFCs,
right? Because they're not lands.
They're not lands.
Yeah, in the graveyard. Yeah.
So something that I was really focusing on with this deck was how do you actually get that many lands into your graveyard?
Yeah.
And the first one I was thinking about is like bounce lands, give you extra lands in your hand, fewer lands on the battlefield. You can discard something.
Yeah, if you bounce land on turn 2, you will have, and don't play anything, you will have 8 cards. So you have to discard.
And it gives you a land to your hand to discard to your commander's ability.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Lotus Field comes in, sacrifices a couple of lands.
Oh, very
Fetch
cool.
lands, of course. Dakmor Salvage is perfect because you can discard it to the ability, use it to mill, to dredge, and then you can re-discard it, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, you're probably playing every fetch land that does a black or green
so
land,
many.
Right? And you're probably even playing the
fetches.
Evolving Wilds and stuff in this deck too, just to get more things in your graveyard.
Get stuff into the graveyard and get them there quickly.
Yeah.
The other way you can get a ton of lands into your graveyard is Scapeshift. You turn everything into a fetch land.
Scapeshift.
Who's heard of this?
Is this a real Magic card? 2 green, sacrifice any number of lands, search your library for up to that many land cards, put them on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle your library. Who designed this?
That seems really good.
A child? Yeah, this card's classic. Yeah, it's absurd in this deck, obviously.
You go get a ton of fetch lands off of your Scapeshift. You can sacrifice all those, get more lands, and then you've doubled the number of lands in your graveyard effectively. And then you're making so many worms.
Yeah, hooray.
Realms Uncharted or Elemental Teachings are both sort of tutors that put lands directly into your graveyard, so they'll get that count up a little bit faster, which is nice too.
Yeah, and then you're filling your graveyard both with your commander, but just having more cards in the graveyard means that you can play all of the black-green stuff that cares about stuff in your graveyard. Get Rog Monster is the obvious best card in the deck, probably.
Yeah, definitely.
Because upkeep, you sack a land, and then you can play an additional land, and then you draw cards when lands are put in your graveyard from anywhere. 6.
Absurd in this deck.
Absurd. Already absurd in general.
But like double absurd here.
Yeah, attacks mill 3, and then you can also, of course, give all your non-land permanents retrace.
So it's also a land discard outlet.
So when someone kills the Get Rog Monster, which they should do, you just replay it.
Yeah. You get him back, you mill some cards, you get lands to discard to make worms, that kind of thing. Dread Returns also really, really great in this deck because you can sacrifice the worms to get back your Gitrog monster. And
wait, is this just a Gitrog monster deck?
Yes, it always is. If Gitrog's in the deck, it is always a Gitrog deck.
Yeah. How about Squirming Emergence?
It's time
to squirm
for your worms.
Squirm your worms.
Squirmy
It should be called Squirming Wormergence.
It should be. This is a sweet card. So it's 1 black-green for a sorcery. It says, return to the battlefield, target non-land permanent card in your graveyard with mana value less than or equal to the number of permanent cards in your graveyard.
Lands are
all the lands. So you can get back anything, like likely a creature, but maybe you want your Ripples of Undeath back. Maybe you want like Insidious Roots back, something like that. Light from the Loam.
Duh.
Yeah.
Yeah, classic.
I would probably run stuff like Malevolent Rumble or Mulch. These are sorceries that look at the top some amount and put all the lands into your hand so you can discard them to your commander's ability
or Mulch,
play them. Or Malevolent Rumble gives you a spell and you put a bunch of lands into your graveyard.
Yeah. Rebels of Undeath, we just mentioned, just consistent mill. Fill up your graveyard as fast as possible. Because you get your commander out early in this deck and people don't really want to kill it.
Yeah, I wouldn't kill it.
Yeah, it's a 5 mana, and then you get worms that don't do anything, right, immediately for the most part.
Yeah.
Unless you have payoffs, which we'll talk about, obviously.
I want to talk about this last lands piece, because I think naturally your brain goes straight to and then of course you play Splendid Reclamation and Aftermath Analyst, Crucible of Worlds, and you get all your lands.
Right.
But then your commander's ability doesn't work at all.
Yeah, so you don't want to do it
too many times.
Yeah, if you have a bunch of recurring ways to mill, then it's a little okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in this deck, when you activate your commander one time, everyone goes now we see the problem.
Sure.
So it could work, but it does make it a little awkward to have these cards in your hand early.
I wouldn't put a ton of them in. You're definitely a lands graveyard deck. I think you probably play Aftermath Analyst or Ice Still Explorer, obviously, is incredible in this deck.
I think you play Crucible or a Crucible Effects because you want to get your fetch lands back to just thin out your deck more, and it's great to get a fetch land back to get it back into the graveyard to get more lands.
I would play Conduit of Worlds over Crucible. And here's
Conduit's
why.
Sweet, yeah.
So Conduit of Worlds says you can play lands from your graveyard, great, but then it's tap, choose target non-land permanent in your graveyard. If you haven't cast a spell this turn, you may cast that card. If you do, you can't cast additional spells this turn, activate only as a sorcery. So it lets you cast something from the graveyard. Great.
But it's okay because you're also making a ton of worms.
And you have 5 mana activation on your commander.
Right.
So even if you can spend the rest of your mana while you have a Conduit of Worlds.
It's
activated,
okay.
Which is cool.
Yeah. Okay, payoffs. How do you win with this deck? By obviously making a lot of worms.
Make more worms.
They're black and green, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So Creekwood Liege is the classic 1/3 Golgari, so 4 mana total, to give black creatures +1/+1, green creatures +1/+1. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may make a 1/1 black and green worm creature token. So they're all 3/3s.
3/3 wormies.
Creekwood Liege.
Turn Timber Sower and the Myco Tyrant just sort of give you more tokens for what you're doing. They're sort of natural enhancers for this deck and alternate token plans instead if your commander is not quite coming together.
Yeah.
But stuff like Savra, Queen of the Golgari, I was like, what? This is perfect in this deck.
Yeah. Oh, God, this card is so mean.
2 black-green. When you sacrifice a black creature, you may pay 2 life. If you do, each other player sacrifices a creature. Your cards are black and green.
Game over.
Your worms are. And then whenever you sacrifice a green creature, you may gain 2 life. Oh, my God.
Instantly gain the life back. As long as you're not at 2 life, you can do this.
Yes.
For everything you sacrifice.
So you have to have a sack outlet to get Savra going. But now, anytime you sacrifice a worm, your opponents are in for a world.
No, actually, you can be at 2 life because you can just stack it so that you gain the life
you
first.
gain the 2 life.
Yeah. Yikes.
Pest Infestation is another way to make more black and green tokens, which is great.
Yeah, that card is just always playable in pretty much every green deck.
So powerful.
Yeah. Zony Center of the Web is so sweet.
It's so sweet in this deck.
Yeah. So when it enters or attacks, you may collect evidence 4, so you get rid of 4 mana value worth of cards in your deck or more.
You only care about the lands.
And then you make 2/1 black, green spider creature tokens with mana and reach. Oh, the black and green. Great for Savra.
Nice.
But more importantly, sacrifice 4 tokens, surveil 2, then draw 2 cards, and you gain 2 life. Whoa.
Pretty good.
Hey, your tokens are doing a lot of work there.
Pretty good. Or you run big sack effects like God Eternal Bantu, Plumb the Forbidden, that you can sacrifice all your wormies and draw that many cards.
Yeah.
Or sacrifice some lands with God Eternal Bantu to make more worms. Pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
But refill your hand and keep things going. Likely this will have an aristocrat payoff when it comes to how the game is going to actually end.
Yep.
Sir Conrad the Grim is perfect in a mill deck because you're draining them that way, and you have a ton of tokens to sacrifice the other way.
Yeah.
Ayara.
If you have like a mana thing with Sir Conrad too, you can make all your worms and then sack them all to pay the 1 in the black with like an Phyrexian Altar, right?
Yeah.
After you attack with them or whatever. Yeah, Ayara is great. Whenever Ayara, another black creature, enters the battlefield, each opponent loses a life. You gain 1 life. You can sack creatures, draw cards. And then Mirkwood Bats is like the big win con here.
Perfect, yeah.
Create or sacrifice a stone. Each opponent loses 1 life.
Yep.
Yeah. Aristocrats is obviously the payoff, or just like, I don't know.
Pump them all up, turn them into 3/3.
Triumph of the Hordes again. I don't know.
Yeah.
Jeez.
This card's really sweet. There is a lot going on with Lluwen, but it's all good stuff.
Yeah. Good job, Lluwen.
All right, moving on to Maralen, Fae Ascendant.
This card is actually absurd.
It's so powerful,
so
dude.
good. Oh, is this or Ashling more powerful? I don't know.
I don't know.
All right, this is 2 black, green, and the blue for a 4/5 legendary creature, elf, fairy, noble, and it has flying. And it says, whenever Maralen or another elf or fairy you control enters, it's giving me Voha vibes, exile the top 2 cards of target opponent's library.
Top 2.
Yikes.
Per elf?
Per elf or fairy.
Yeah, if you make 4, they mill 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, exile it.
Exile, yes.
And then once each turn, you may cast a spell with mana value less than or equal to the number of elves and fairies you control from among cards exiled with Maralen this turn. without paying its mana cost.
Why?
Each turn, by the way. So you get instants. You can cast those instants.
Yep.
You exile a counter spell. They're
That's
just like,
fine, it's yours.
Sorry, it's mine now.
That are milled. They're exiled with Maralen this turn.
Oh, this turn. Okay.
So this is actually better than I thought. Okay. Or less powerful than I thought.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay, once each turn you may cast a spell with mana value less than or equal to the number of elves and fairies you control from among cards exiled with Maralen this turn.
Okay.
Woo! Okay. But look,
Hey,
they
elves
have flash.
They have flash.
Fairies have flash.
Fairies have a lot.
And there's instants that make a lot of elves. So there's definitely ways that you can do this, but you have to make stuff at instant speed.
Okay.
That makes this a lot less terrifying. But that's great.
But it's still absurd.
It's still very good. Okay. So, like with Voya and anything that mixes types, it's sort of better to pick a lane. Pick a fairy lane, pick an elf lane. They're both super, super powerful, so you can kind of go either way, and you can do some amount of mixing.
Because obviously they work better with each other.
Right. If you're going to play something like a Scion of Una that says other fairy creatures you control get +1/+1, and other fairies you control have Shroud, great, cool. But you have a handful of elves. Now
it
what?
has flash, by the way.
It also has flash, so you exile more stuff.
Yeah, do it on the opponent's turn. If you like the instant heavy deck, you have this up against. It's actually so good against the instant deck because they're gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna get rid of your things at instant speed. You're like, haha, I'm gonna flash this out, give them a Shroud, and then I get an instant from you to kill your thing, maybe.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
From among the cards exiled, I'm like so confused about how this card works now.
So yeah, if it's your turn and you play 2 elves or 2 fairies, you exile 4 cards, and then that turn you may cast a spell from among them that you exiled this turn because Maralen did it this turn.
With mana value less than or equal to the number of elves and fairies you control.
Yeah. So if you have Scion out and Maralen, you play it, you have 2 fairies, you exile 2 cards, you play a card with 2 mana value or less that turn when you flash it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
it's a little confusing.
If you only if you have 4 elves, let's say you have 4 elves and you flash out Scion of Una,
then you can
turn on the ability, but you can get a 5-drop and you only mill 2.
From among the 2. Yeah.
Okay.
Still absurd.
We got it. It's still crazy. So as long as you want more things with instant speed, so you can turn on this omniscience ability.
Yeah, but it's also not so good because if you only exile creatures and sorceries, then you can't cast it. So you do want to do it both on your turn, and then you want to wait to do it on specific other players' turns, or just have the option available. Right. And when you do on other players' turns, you are incentivized to have more things on the board so that you can look at more cards to potentially hit more instants. And not all instants are your friend, so you maybe even play a Vidalcan Orrery or the Leyline, the blue one.
I've never seen more of a high Fae Trickster deck in my life.
Oh, this is the high Fae Trickster deck. Yeah, that's probably the number 1 card in the deck.
Okay, so we're gonna split these into types, and we're gonna talk about them this way. So.
Fairies.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about fairies first.
So yeah, we started with Scion of Una, which is both a flash card and a typal card.
Perfect. Obira Dreaming Duelist, also a flash card that drains when fairies enter the battlefield.
Perfect.
Archmage of Echoes is great because it expands the number of fairies you have. It says whenever you cast a fairy or wizard, copy it.
Yeah, permanent spell specifically.
Super powerful. It means that you can double your Scion of Unas, so everything's super shrouded and buffed, and you can cast bigger things.
Yeah, Nettling Nuisance is a 2 in the black flyer. Whenever 1 more fairies deal combat damage to a player, that player creates a 4/2 red pirate creature token that is goaded and it can't block for the rest of the game. Which is hilarious.
So I liked that you could just keep giving people pirates.
Yeah, that's
because
so
you're
funny.
Going wide with fairies.
Yeah.
Fairy Mastermind, of course, is a flash fairy that is very powerful. So it goes right into this deck.
Same with Bitter Blossom because you're making a fairy that will mill 2 and it gives you more fairies to the fairy count.
Yep. Bitterbloom Bear. Oh yeah, it is a fairy itself too. So Bitter Blossom counts.
It is. It's a treble enchantment fairy. That's right.
Bitterbloom Bearer is another flash fairy that gives you more fairies, really powerful, and of course, High Fae Trickster.
Yeah.
It just feels like you want all the flash enablers you can get, whether you're building around elves or you're building around fairies. Vidalcan Orrery, of course, but Leyline of Anticipation, Born Upon a Wind, Valley Floodcaller.
Yeah, because you're saving on the mana. So yeah, Born Upon the Wind draws you a card, and you pay 1 in the blue to give everything flash this turn. Yeah.
Seems sweet. Of course. Yeah. They're going wide with fairies is a little bit more difficult than going wide with elves, but there's plenty of ways to do it. A Layla Cunning Conqueror is great because it cares about casting spells on
during
your opponent's turns.
Yeah.
And it gives you more tokens. Plus it goads. It's a lot of control. Shadow Puppeteers turns your fairies into combat threats, and it makes 2 fairies itself. So this is 7 mana, but you're casting stuff for free with your opponent's spells, and it gives you 3 fairies, and they're all big 3 fairy. You can't play that in this deck because he's blue and white.
Una, Queen of the Fae, is sort of like Maralen's predecessor. I believe Maralen is her daughter, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know.
That sounds right.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
She's
If I'm
super
right,
old, Maralen.
I'm right. Una is a 6-mana 5/5, and you pay X and then hybrid Dimir to choose a color. Target opponent exiles the top X cards of their library. For each card of the chosen color exiled this way, you create a 1/1 blue and black fairy rogue creature token with flying.
Nice.
So you pay 5 into this, exile, make 3 fairies, maybe 2 fairies. They then have to exile 4 cards, 6 cards off their library, and then you can cast one of them.
Do you think you win with Mill? Do you think you just deck people with this? It's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah, you definitely
You
can.
have to make 50, less than that. Maybe let's 40
Yeah,
things.
There's probably ways that you just get to that crazy amount of mana by getting the spells off your opponent's library, or just like you just spiral out of control where you just have so much stuff going. You've cast 15 mana rocks from your opponents or whatever, that you just have the mana to just like keep going, and then you bring out an Una to like close it out. But you're probably not dedicated to the mill plan.
Probably, it's probably an incidental thing, and you're focusing one person down.
But in this game, you're probably exiling,
A lot.
40, 50 cards in total, minimum.
Easily.
Yeah, just because you're doing it from every opponent, right?
All right, let's talk about elves, because there's a lot. It's a lot easier to make a ton of elves than it is to make a ton of fairies.
Yeah.
All of the typal stuff that we talked about when we were talking about what's her name, the high perfect Morcant.
Oh, Morcant. Her feet.
Yeah, when we were talking about her, all of those elf spells apply here as well. You want to be drawing a lot of cards. You want to be making a lot of elves. So I would still run all of those same effects, except for now you get to play Bloom Tender because you're in 3 colors.
Oh, funny.
Pretty sweet. I mean, you can also play Bloom Tender in 2 color decks. But
Yeah, just not as good.
I would be playing the same make a ton of elf things, but you have less of those like proliferate win cons. So I imagine your win cons are closer to like a Nadir's Nightblade, which is an elf.
Oh, right.
And whenever a token you control leaves the battlefield, each opponent loses one. Or Miara Thorn of the Glade. It's whenever it or another elf dies, you can pay 1 and 1 life if you do draw a card. That's also very good.
Yeah, so there could be more aristocratic with this build because you're just going to be making more creatures very easily with all of the elf creator token creators.
Yeah, which we spent a fair amount of time talking about.
Yep, there's a lot of staples and tokens here. We already talked about a bunch of them. Not that exciting. But
make a ton of elves, make a ton of fairies. See what your opponents give you.
Yeah, I do love cards that steal cards from other players' decks. This has definitely caught my attention. I don't have a typal deck really in my thing, so I might go.
It's very interesting.
I was looking at Obira for a bit and Alila as both like decks that we're interested in, but this one seems like it could be.
What I like about this is it sort of combines like the flashiness of fairies with the go wide of elves.
Yeah.
So you get to cast more cheaper spells with fairies, and you get to cast fewer big spells with elves is kind of the idea.
Yeah. It's fun though. You can go both ways. You can try a little bit of mix and match, but they don't really work that well together.
Yeah.
There's no cards that really stood out that was like, oh, this is good in both the versions of the deck.
Yeah. All right, we have one more big returning character to talk about in this episode. It is the Reaper.
King No More. This is like a band and an album title in one.
This card is sick. It's very cool having Reaper King back. So sorry about his crown.
And so sorry about what this card does, by the way.
So this is -1/-1 counters are back now with Jund. So you can put your Hapatra in the same deck as your Locust God. Congratulations.
No. The casting cost on this too is very Reaper King. So it's either 2/2/2, so 6 total, or a black, a red, and a green instead. So it's hybrid mana in a way.
Yeah.
So you could just cast it for Jund.
2-brid. Or 6 mana.
Yeah.
He is a legendary artifact creature scarecrow. When the Reaper enters, put a -1/-1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Whenever a creature an opponent controls with a -1 counter on it dies, you may put that card onto the battlefield under your control.
Do this only once each turn.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank goodness. But still absurd because you can do it on everyone's turns. It's a 3/3, by the way. So, yeah, the blighting abilities are going to be very good in this deck. But just putting a counter on something and then killing it means you steal it.
Pretty sweet. So this is Necroskitter-ish, which is also got reprinted in the precon. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
But you can only do it once each turn. And notably, you can't steal commanders this way. They can, when they die, they go
replacement
to
effect.
the command
They
zone.
can choose to put it in the command zone. Yeah.
You cannot choose to steal it. And the Reaper will show up in game nights.
That's right.
It is piloted by the one, the only, Gabriel Luna.
Yes.
Very cool.
Darkness reigns.
So the first thing that you have to do is get -1 counters on stuff, but your commander helps with that. So let's talk about how you kill these creatures that you want.
You can't do that in Jund.
I can't think of one way.
Especially not at instant speed.
Oh, you can. Go for the throat, terminate, infernal grasp. You're running a lot of these effects because remember, they are not just kill spells, they are steal spells.
Yeah.
And doing it at instant speed is super important because you can trigger it once each turn.
Yeah, so even if you just play the Reaper King, have 2 creatures that are now your targets, you hold up open 4 mana after that, you can kill 2 things, 2 turns, steal both of them.
Yeah.
Steal them.
Pretty good. So make sure you have a dedicated suite of instant speed kill spells because that is going to be your friend here.
Oh, also if it's an X1, you just get it that turn the Reaper King enters, by the way.
When it dies at return, it
Yeah.
shows up immediately.
All right, so let's put some -1/- counters on things.
For sure.
For sure.
Skin Render's fun. This is a 4 mana 3/3 that when it enters, it puts 3 -1/- counters on target creature.
Can kill a lot of things.
A lot of things. So I can just see this like if you picture this as a 4 mana 3/3 that enters and steals a 3-drop, that's very powerful.
Yeah.
This just, you play it, you steal a Fairy Mastermind.
Yeah.
Yoink.
Yoink. Any of the creatures that are 3 toughness or less, there's a ton in this format, yeah.
Splendid Agony is incredible in this deck.
Yeah, instant speed, 2 in the black, distribute 2 -1 counters from among 1 or 2 target creatures, or among 1 or 2 target creatures, yeah.
So you're like, oh, this is going to die in combat. I'm actually going to yoink this one.
Right. If someone goes to combat, swings at someone else, you're like, that's going to die? Right. Let's instantly get a -1 counter on it.
Or I'm going to make this one smaller so it's not a free block, and I'll steal it, and it'll kill that, and I'll steal something else later.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
So cool. If you kill a bunch of creatures with a board wipe like Black Sun Zenith, you get to choose which one you get. However, it's on each creature, so it will kill your own stuff.
Yeah, what I would do with Black Sun Zenith is just kind of like paint the board with -1.
Yeah.
So now you have your pick of the litter. No matter what dies, you get to steal that one.
Yeah. Carnifex Demon is a more expensive way of doing this. 4 black for a 6/6. Enters the battlefield with 2 -1 counters on it, and then you can put more on it with your commander if you want. But you pay a black, remove a 1/1 counter from it to put a -1 counter on each other creature.
Yeah. Or Persistent Constrictor lets you put a -1 counter on a creature at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep. So you can always pick which one is the best, and you can control which one you're going to steal.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about -1/- counter synergy. There's a lot of it, and it's sort of famous for going infinite, which we've talked about a fair amount. And Nest of Scarabs is usually involved.
Yeah.
Whenever you put 1 or more -1 counters on a creature, create that many 1/1 black insect creature tokens.
So that gets you 2 with your commander.
Yes. So it 1 or more on a creature, right? So if you put them on different creatures, you get 2.
Right. And then Hapatra, Vizier of Poisons, we talked about. Whenever you put a -1 counter on a creature, you make a green snake creature token with Death Touch.
Yeah.
And if you can somehow deal combat damage with Hapatra, you also put more -1 counters, -1 counters on things.
Blowfly Infestation is bananas. Whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, if it had a -1 counter on it, put a -1 counter on target creature.
Oh my gosh.
This is not a May ability. You can kill your own stuff if all of your opponent's stuff dies. So careful with the Blowfly Infestation, but it is really powerful. It means that there's just always a -1 counter on the board.
Yeah. Obelisk Spider is kind of a win con. Whenever you put a -1 counter on a creature, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life, one or more.
So Black Sun Zenith is...
Yeah, this thing will not be dealing combat damage to people. It's a 1/4.
No.
People can just chump this and put a 2/2 in front of it. But it also doesn't want on combat damage. The Scorpion God is a staple in this deck. Obviously, whenever a creature with a -1 counter on it dies, you draw a card and you can pay 1 black red to put a counter on a creature like that. And of course, it returns every time it dies to your owner's hand. Yikes.
Yeah. Massacre Girl, known killer, getting in there whenever a creature an opponent controls dies. If its toughness was less than 1, draw a card.
Yikes!
So that it means if you just shrink it to 0 with -1 counters, you draw a card when they die. And it gives your creatures Wither, which is another way to put -1 counters on stuff.
Yeah, that's scary.
A cool combo in this deck is Maha. It's Feather's Knight. It makes every creature's toughness 1. So now 1
Player
-1
commander.
-1 counter is enough to to kill anything.
Player commander, paint it, Carnifex Demon or whatever, and then play Maha. Oh.
Yoink, everything dies, you steal the best thing. Pretty good.
Yeah. And that card is just absurd for the things that don't die. Now you're just sitting there being like, this card is worthless now. It's like a
you
toughness
can't
of 1.
play creatures,
and then
basically.
anything that the Scarecrow King does to it, that deck is like ready to kill it. Yeah.
So you probably want some proliferate effects as well. We've talked about a fair amount of these, but you don't need quite as much as when you're leaning into the proliferate side with Morcant. So Unnatural Restoration returns a target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand and proliferates, or even Thirsting Roots that either gets you a basic or it proliferates.
Yeah, it's a great turn 1 play. It's a great late game play. It's just one of those cards that I love the flexibility of it.
Yeah. The final way that I was thinking about building this deck is you could make the Reaper the primary source of -1/-1 counters and make it more of a Jundi control deck. Like you probably have some amount of -1/-1 counter stuff. Like I think you would run a lot of like the Splendid Agonies and the Skin Renders and Black Sun Zenith.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't be running all the -1/-1 payoffs.
Oh, okay.
Like the Scorpion God or Massacre Girl necessarily. And you just have ways to sacrifice your commander and have him re-enter the battlefield and put 2 -1 counters on stuff.
I see.
So it just makes you a little bit more flexible. It makes him the sole production, and you can use stuff like Malika Rebirth, Kaya's Ghost Form to protect your commander, who's going to be a removal magnet, and distribute more -1/-1 counters.
Yeah, people will. It's another remove on. There's like 3 commanders in this set that are all instantly remove on site.
Just can't let them stick around.
Just can't let them stick around. Yeah, they really brought the power level up with this set with the commanders specifically. I think they knew that they needed this to be a banger in that way, and it is. And this is, by the way, a precon commander, so you're going to probably see a lot of the Reaper King.
Yeah,
Quite
the
a powerful
not king.
Yeah, we're not king no more. Sorry, it's very, very annoying.
Gabriel's not annoying.
Gabriel's not annoying. No, he plays it as smooth as he can be. He's a smooth criminal, that guy.
So that is the Reaper, and that's all the commanders that we're going to talk about in this episode.
But
Jimmy and I are going to get into which we think is the most powerful and which we think is our favorite in just a few moments.
Yeah, but first, let's talk about our sponsors, cardkingdom.com/command. You're going to want to pick up some of this product. I cannot wait. The Draft Night product is new for 4-player groups to do a pick 2 draft format of this. You can get all that at cardkingdom.com/command and more, including the singles, sealed product from past sets. Complete your collection, get some stuff ready for your next game night, build one of these decks. We talked about a lot of sweet cards today. Maybe there is an elf or fairy card that you know that no one's looking at, and you could be the first on the case to get it that you thought about this episode. So yeah, go to cardkingdom.com/command to get those cards.
And once those cards are in your hand, you're going to need to protect them, decorate them, keep them safe and organized. Go to ultrapro.com/command to get all of the Magic accessories that you need, especially if you are a Final Fantasy fan. Again, they just did a new drop of Final Fantasy products. If you haven't seen those, they're really sweet and they're super beautiful. And if you want to find out about new products like those, sign up for the Ultra Pro newsletter. It's great. It tells you when sales are happening and when new products are online. So ultrapro.com/command, and you are supporting the show.
All right, let's talk about our favorite and most powerful commanders. Also, please comment below what your favorite and most powerful commanders are. I'm gonna say Bre of Clan Stoutarm.
Is your favorite?
It's my favorite, yeah, because I did build her for game nights. I looked at all of these and I was like, okay, some of these are just too. It was that or Maralen, Fae Ascendant.
She's cool.
I love stealing stuff. But I think Bre is much less of a removal on-site type commander, and I don't love playing commanders that people look at and go like, well, if we don't kill that, it's going to be the most annoying thing ever. So I like Bre a lot as my favorite.
I really like Eirdu and Isilu. I think they're really neat. I'm really more focused on Eirdu. I think the creature spells have Convoke has a lot of potential to be really cool and like a really explosive white deck, which is just not something that you get to see very often.
Yeah.
I also really like Doran. I like that it's just
Doran.
abs and beatdowns. Obviously, that's what I built for game nights. I think going the opposite way and doing big fronts, not butts, is a
so
very funny way to build.
You have to put Yargle and Moltani in the deck. Just one.
Just a cheeky one?
Yeah, just a cheeky Yargle and Moltani.
Oh, man.
Because if it goes down, people are like, wait, what the? And they're like, oh, no.
Yes, it'll get plus 12.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
So it's some very fun commanders this time, but I think those are my favorite.
For most powerful, I'm going to stick with Ashling, the first card we talked about.
Yeah.
I think it's just, there are turns with that card where you're reducing the mana cost, where you're just dumping out. I think of all the cards, you're getting the most mana positive effects from that. Like you're paying 30 mana worth of cards in a single turn potentially.
Yeah, I'm sort of most terrified of what's going to happen when my opponent untaps with Ashling. It's that kind of card where you're like, okay,
Game could be over.
are we dead?
Yeah.
It's possible. I'm going to go with the high perfect Morcant. Just because Elf Ball is already so powerful and it's a very explosive strategy that can kill you super fast. But the downside of Elf Ball was always that it wasn't super disruptive and could just die to an equally fast deck.
Yeah.
And high perfect Morcant is like, oh, are you in the process of exploding?
Yeah, sorry.
Slow all your opponents down also.
Yeah, and then proliferate on top of that
Yeah,
too.
there's so many ways you can die in this deck. There's so many things that would be terrible if they entered the battlefield.
Yeah.
So I think this one is pretty nasty.
Yeah. It's that or again Maralen, Fae Ascendant I think are all in the running for most powerful.
Pretty sweet.
Pretty cool stuff. Yeah, Lorwyn Eclipsed looks very cool.
We're in.
This is, I think, one of the most powerful set of commanders we reviewed in a long time.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And there wasn't a single Jeskai one among them, thank goodness.
We are going to talk all about Lorwyn over the course of the next couple of weeks. We're going to upgrade the precons. We're going to talk about the cards you need for the 99. So tune in for all of those. But
Big thanks.
We're done for now.
To our amazing team here at the Command Zone. Thank goodness we're out of here. But they're going to start editing this thing, so send them your love and thanks. It's Sebastian Salazar, Karina Cruz, Grub, Galati, Jamie Luck, Jordan Pridgeon, Jake Boss, Becky Bell, Rachel Kendra, Eric Lem, Manson Lung, Josh Murphy, Evan Limburger, Sam Waldo, and of course, Josh Lee. Why?
Happy Lorwyn, everybody.
Happy New Year as well. We'll see you soon, and have fun getting eclipsed, I suppose. I don't know what that means. Bye!